All right. Welcome, one and all to the latest episode of the Xbox 2 podcast. I believe this is episode 361. I'm Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. And we have a guest today. We also have another guest coming a little bit later, whenever he decides he wants to hop in a Discord call. Colt Eastwood is taking the place of Jez Corden because Jez Corden is having surgery. Unfortunately, he could not join us today, and he would not be joining us if we decided to delay the show till Saturday or Monday, because obviously surgery is a thing. But he says it's not serious. So if everybody wants to go wish Jez, get well soon. But that's why Colt Eastwood is here to take place. Well, I guess nobody can really take the place of Jez Corden, but we have my BFF Colt in the house. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. It's been quite a week. It's been kind of a difficult week for a lot of us, but we are here. I'm excited to talk about everything, and there's a lot to say.
Yeah, there's a lot to say, isn't there? I mean, because a lot of stuff happened. Xbox increased in prices on literally everything. Rockstar coming out and being like, yeah, you know what? We're not this year. And
well, I mean, literally, the games are amazing. Everything outside of the games we're playing is absolute turmoil.
Yeah, but I mean, how's your week been? How's the cooking in the Casa de Colt?
It's good. Been playing Claire Expedition 33 and kind of set down Oblivion Remaster because of Claire, and just been kind of like meandering through all of the crazy stuff that we'll be talking about today, because it's kind of been digging into some of our enjoyment of, we're supposed to be having a good time with gaming, but there's just a lot of struggles, a lot of layoffs and stuff that we'll talk about, a lot of shutdown stuff, and then the delays and the price hikes. But yeah, it's been an okay week, actually.
Yeah. I kind of briefly want to talk about Expedition 33, and I talked about it quite a bit on the last podcast. I'm further in now. I think I'm midway through Act 2, taking my time. I have 25 hours into the game. I'm like level 38, I think. I am in absolute love with this game, Colt. Like, every night I get on, I'm just continually surprised, and that like a studio, first-time studio, Titanfall Interactive, create something this, and I don't like using the word disruptive, but it just really feels like this game is, as people would say, a wake-up call to the industry. This indie game. Yeah. Well, I think they have a publisher, but I don't know how big the publisher is. But I love almost everything about this game. And I can't praise it enough, from the visuals to the combat, to the story, to the characters, to the voice acting. It is probably going to be in my top 3 for the year. Because right now, I mean, I haven't finished the game. So, like, I need to get to the end to see how things wrap up and character story arcs and all that stuff to play, to properly put it in, like, okay, what do I enjoy most, right? And no spoilers, but like the end of Act 1 was like, holy shit. Like, yeah. And then the music in the game, I don't know if you saw, there was like a report basically saying that like the composer of this game who did all the music was someone that they just found off of SoundCloud or something. Oh, like the dude was just posting his stuff on SoundCloud, and then they hired him, and like the music in this game is absolutely phenomenal. They're like, the only thing, there's some little quibbles you have, like, like the voice syncing, like the lip animations don't properly align.
I was actually wondering about that, if the voice acting was done in French and then they just kind of adjust it for American audiences.
Yeah, but I think that's probably how it was. I mean, it's you only really can tell if you're like paying attention to the dialogue and you're watching their lips. Otherwise, it's like whatever. But that's really my only really true complaint, and it's not even a big one because it's like it's like whatever. It's a video game, but God, like I am so much in love with the combat of the turn-based when you attack and the QTEs that kind of keep you on your toes, but especially the defensive parries, the defensive dodges, because it makes every single fight. I don't want to use the word meaningful, but you're always engaged all the time, which is something that maybe doesn't necessarily happen in other games like Metaphor ReFantazio or other turn-based games like this. And there are some times when I think I did a boss yesterday that was completely under-leveled for. And the only reason I was able to beat it was because I was able to parry pretty much everything, because any attack that hit me, I was instantly dead. So the only way I could beat this boss was if I was constantly parrying it, doing counterattack damage, and whittling the health down, so much so that when I ended up beating the boss, I think I ended up gaining like 5 levels. And that's not something like you can normally do in other games of this caliber, but geez, like I am so immensely impressed with this game. And it's doing well. I think they announced like a million copies sold, which is fantastic for a game like this. And we were all worried that it would be overshadowed by Oblivion, and I think even the head of Kepler, the publisher, was like, "No, we didn't. Oblivion didn't really affect us in any way." And in fact, he thinks maybe Oblivion coming out at the same time actually raised the profile of Expedition 33 to some people. Like there was this great RPG, and then there's another great RPG. So like I don't know, he had a very interesting take on
possibly because there was discussion surrounding, oh no, these two games are really great, and they're both being talked about at the same time. It's the Bucky from Palworld effect, where they say as a small developer, like Game Pass has been really super advantageous for them because there is so much word of mouth and so many people playing on your friends list where everyone's like, why is Rand playing so much of this one game? I played so much of Palworld. So there is this synergy thing that happens with Game Pass for smaller games, but you're right. People were really upset about, it's really dirty of Bethesda to drop this massive 20-year-old classic next to a game that Xbox had partnered with for Game Pass. And what we saw in result was that both games did really, really well. And with 30-some million Game Pass subscribers, there's plenty of room for two games to do phenomenal right out the gate. And that's really, really good.
Yeah.
Because Xbox needs
so
more
Thinda
games
in
on
chat says Barbenheimer effect?
Yeah.
And it's like,
sure.
oh yeah, you had the Barbie movie and you had Oppenheimer, and that was like an event for the movies where it was like, all right, let's go check these out. And I mean, maybe you could make a similar argument here, like what would you call it? The Oblivion 33 effect? Or something like that.
you got to come out with something better than that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's just like on the spur of the moment. Like, what would you?
Obliv's Edition 33 or something funky like that.
Exblivion 33 or something. Claire Blivion, something along those lines. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. And the thing about it is, both those games were $50. I guess if you waited a year, both those games might have been $60 or $70, considering the
and we're going to come
situation.
around. We're going to come back around to that sentence you just said when you say that these awesome games that were super successful were $50. We'll definitely circle back to that comment.
Yeah, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Xbox 2 podcast today. I am sorry about Jez not being here, but he is having surgery, so we all wish him luck. He says it's not serious, so I take him at his word. But
he's getting a new arm. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, maybe he's getting a new liver so he can continue drinking as much as he used to, or,
Yeah.
So, at least, I don't know. Like, I say, like, normally he goes on vacation and things drop. This isn't a vacation. He's just like, I got to go for surgery for, you know what I mean? But, I mean, the GTA delay did drop today. Although I don't think Jez is having surgery. He might be having it today. I'm not exactly sure. I just know I think he's prepping for surgery or whatever for tomorrow. I think his surgery is actually tomorrow, which is why he couldn't do the show today, because he had a whole bunch of stuff he needed to prep for.
Yeah, sometimes that means you can't eat for friggin' 12 hours and stuff that's just super not fun.
Yeah, but do us a big favor. Let everybody know we are live on social media, Twitter, everywhere else. Xbox 2 Podcast is live. We, if you haven't liked the video already, please give us a thumbs up if you would, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, so you're always notified and all that good stuff for whenever this podcast or whenever, I decide to make videos. But Colt, I also saw that you posted today that you have access to Doom. Are you excited to finally... Because I know you played the preview of it. You were flown out, and you actually got hands-on time with it. But I mean, how's your excitement level for Doom Dark Ages? So when you finish this podcast, it's like, as soon as I'm done, or you're like, I could be playing Doom the Dark Ages right now, Rand, but I'm here stuck with you. You know what I mean?
I actually put in the code and everything and installed it while we were prepping up for the show. But I love you, Rand. I will wait to play the game. I'm excited. I got to play like over 3 hours in LA, like whenever that was. So I'm excited to play the game. I gave my impressions. I'm just expecting more access to all that awesome stuff. So, it'll be a pretty crazy. I don't know, what was it, 7 or 8 days we were figuring for me to finish the game and get a review out.
Yeah.
What is it? Today's the 2nd, and then the review embargo is like in the morning on the 9th, the day after my birthday. So,
ooh, what's the what age are we hitting? Are we at the big 50 yet?
Not yet, not yet, but I'm getting close.
You're getting close. Yeah. No wonder you shaved off your hair. You're
bro,
entering that midlife crisis.
No, that's funny. I think I had my midlife crisis like 6 years ago or 7 years ago, and gone and over with. But thankfully I don't have to worry about that. So spiky-haired Colt Eastwood is now officially retired, and now it's just shaved head Colt Eastwood, bald head Colt Eastwood. I was done with the occasional comments about, like, I like the shape, but there's a thing. I'll just indulge the audience for a moment. That most guys like keep the same hairdo from their mid-20s. They're like pretty much the rest of their life. Unless you're like a rock star or an actor, like you just kind of like, this is the haircut I had after college or through college, and this is what I keep. And the older I get, Rand, the less I want to stay stagnant or pack stuff around the house. And so I'm trying to stay youthful, like throwing out stuff that I think I don't need and shaving my hair off. So onward and upward with more games to play too.
Yeah, I mean, you saw me recently. My hair is quite long. So is my beard.
Yes, it is very long, all the way past your shoulders.
Yeah, it's probably time to get a haircut sooner or later here for the summer. For the winter, it's whatever, because, it keeps your face nice and warm, but it becomes a problem in summer, especially when it's as long as it is. So it's like, you know what, it might be time to go get that haircut, and it's always a drastic difference when you're like, man, this is what I look like with all that hair, and then it's like, oh my God, I look like a different person losing it all.
Mm-hmm. Or you put your hand up there and you're like, whoa, that's different.
Yeah. But got to give a shout outs to all the wonderful Patreon members who support me and Jez on the Xbox 2. We did a Xbox 2 plus 1 with Lord Cognito on Tuesday. And considering what else has happened this week, it was almost like, man, we should have saved that for next week. But it was really fun sitting down, talking to Cognito about everything. And I even, what happened with the show today was Jez hits me up at noon and is like, I'm having surgery tomorrow and I can't be on the show for these reasons. Can you get somebody in short time frame? So I'm like, sure. Like I called Colt, and Colt was like, absolutely. And then I was like, you know what? I always love it when we get myself, Colt, and Cog together, because those always end up being great podcasts. So I picked up the phone and put out the call to Lord Cognito to see if he, was available today. But he didn't answer the phone, and he didn't text me back, so I'm assuming Lord Cognito is in sleepy mode still. Probably staying up super late to play some Expedition 33. So I did ask somebody else if they wanted to hop on when we talk about the big topics today, so they might join as well. That'll be a fun discussion. So yeah, Xbox 2 plus 1 with COG is available now for Patreon members, early access if you guys want to get that. The question and answer thread is up. I'll be answering those questions later on at the end of the show. So if you have something you want to say, make sure you do so. And we got the Xbox 2 MVPs who get a nice shout out. So we got Ethan Linhares VA, Resin Force, iMike Zero, Tier, Shrapnel, Inner Machine, Just James 93, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, 09C Mine, James Wiseau, Tricks R for Trey, Laserwolf, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Foreign Object, RS Donks, Silas, James Moore, Fantasticals, Katriox, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duel, Sean Kramer, PB Broking, Asa T and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wagerman, Pat Rock, Scarcely Relevant, Darren Torpy, Briggs Country, Prof JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It means a lot to me and Jez. And I should also make mention that we are sponsored by Surfshark VPN. And I don't know if you know this, Colt, but they have an offer for our listeners, or mine and Jez. And obviously a lot of people here know who Colt Eastwood is, but they have a offer 86% off of a 2-year deal for Surfshark VPN. Links in the description. Link is also pinned in the chat. So if you want to click on that link and check it out, and if you do sign up, it does support the show as well. So shout out to Surfshark for, sponsoring. They're not sponsoring this episode, but we are sponsored overall. So there is that. But anyways, there's something that me and you watched recently together, and that was Borderlands 4.
Yeah,
they did a stream on State of Play, and me and you watched it. And what did you think? Because I think you're more of a Borderlands fan than I am. Because my impressions were like, because you were like, "Oh, bro, what'd you think?" And I'm like, it's Borderlands, right? It's I mean, they're fun, and they're fun to play in co-op, and I think this one looks better than Borderlands 3, which I liked Borderlands 3, but I definitely did not love it the same way I did Borderlands 2 or Borderlands 1.
Absolutely. Yeah, Borderlands 3 was not
felt like
very good.
A step in the wrong direction. I didn't like the character I chose, and so much about it is not only who you're playing with in co-op, but the character you're playing as. And I played as the character who special ability was the mech, and I ended up not liking it. So I think that really affected how I viewed the game. Plus, I didn't think the antagonists were really anything interesting. But they talk about the Borderlands 4, and it's more grounded, and the characters that they've shown, the two that they did a gameplay dive of, they definitely look better than the last ones. They seem to be making weapon drops and legendaries more important. So what'd you think of Borderlands 4? And its new release date, September 12th. Are they trying to get away from Marathon? Are they scooting away from Ghost of Yotai? What's up?
No, they were scooting away from Grand Theft Auto 6, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you. Like, I was excited about some of the small changes because the only thing that was great about Borderlands 3 was more detailed graphics and better. The gunplay was even cooler. Like, it was like snappier. And I do feel like Borderlands 4 looks just like 3, but I'm hoping they fix the tone of the game because midway through the campaign, my buddy and I shut off all voice dialogue. We went and turned down the voice dialogue, so we only had sound effects and music because I could not stand your companions that were helping you. Like Reese, whatever, like Reese is funny, I guess. Anyway, I couldn't stand Tyrese and her brother or whatever. It was so cringy and obnoxious. Every character yelled constantly because yelling was funny in Borderlands 2, but in 2019, it got really old. But yeah, anyway, the game looks cool. I covered it today in my weekly news video that they added like a recallable speeder bike like Destiny, where you can just hit a button,
even
like
push
a
gliding ability as well to like kind
of
glide over long distances. So,
and then for people that, I mean, there are people that really do care about Borderlands. When I put up polls of Marathon versus Borderlands won 90 to 94% over on anybody that voted that they were more excited about or they thought which would do better. They fixed the loot drop frequency because
which was a problem in 3.
Like purples and blues were never prevalent enough or good enough. And you could only wait for a legendary and they dropped like far too often to be special. So It's just more Borderlands. And I'm just
Yeah.
excited because I know I'm going to like it. And I actually liked Tiny Tina's Wonderland, even though that game's really hokey.
That's a game that I have in my backlog, and it's like maybe I'll get to it at one point. But I didn't play Tiny Tina's Wonderland. But you know, you think about it, it's like, man, it doesn't seem like Borderlands 3 was that long ago. And then you look, and it's like, oh yeah, Borderlands 3 came out in 2019.
You said 7 years when we were
like
watching
6
this.
years. It doesn't feel like
Yeah.
6 years.
Is it 6? Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like, man, was it really 2019 when the last time? I mean, has Gearbox put anything else out since then? Have they really been working 6 years on Borderlands 4? I mean, I guess so. Like, I know in between Borderlands 2 and 3, they made that like shooter MOBA game that I always forget the name of, the one that like failed spectacularly.
Battleborn,
which they put out against Overwatch, which accounted for some of the why it took so long to go from Borderlands 2 to 3. But I don't think they put anything out between 3 and 4. Do you recall anything? Did they put anything out between 3 and 4?
I mean, just Wonderlands. Yeah, they haven't done any other.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
Wonderlands was it, but I think Wonderlands was done mostly by an external team. But I mean, I guess you're right. Yeah, Wonderlands is probably that game.
But I was asking him, like, Gearbox's only good game is the Borderlands series, and you said it's their only game besides Colonial Marines and.
I mean, the turd that is
Duke
Alien
Nukem.
Colonial Marines, and was it Duke Nukem Forever? And that game was garbage too.
Yeah, they just came in
But
the
I mean,
last
they-
inning
they-
and spent
they
like 6
have-
months on it.
They have it's a big franchise, and I guess you could say, well, they're moving away from Marathon because Marathon's release date was the same day, and it's like, do we really think they're moving away from Marathon? Because it feels like Marathon is in this. It's weird because when you see the discussions about and I haven't played Marathon, so I really don't have any opinion on how it plays or whatever. I can tell, my opinion on what I've seen, which is it doesn't look impressive to me.
I know I don't like to say anything out loud because I haven't played it, but graphically, the art style is just kind of off-putting to me.
It's not
as
even
a graphic designer,
yeah, I
it's
mean,
just kind
some
of
of
hard
it's-
to look at.
Some of it's how it
for
looks,
me.
but also like the gunplay and stuff. I don't know. I'm not really digging it. But then like I see people talking about this Arc Raiders, and
Oh,
now all of a
gosh.
sudden everyone's like, "Oh, Marathon needs to be delayed like 6 months or a year because Arc Raiders is legit." And it's another extraction shooter. It's actually free to play, where Marathon's $40.
Have you talked
And-
to anybody that's played Arc Raiders? Because I
No,
played
I
it
haven't
for
talked
like
to anybody who's played it, but I have seen posts from like Destin and Paul Tassi, and I've seen like Shroud talk about it and a few other people. And the consensus is that this game is ready, and this game is ready to dominate that genre. And in comparison, Marathon feels like a lesser product. So maybe it's best for Bungie to delay the game 6 months or whatever, maybe even rethink their pricing strategy. Because if like this game over here is offering a better experience, it's free, are people going to pay for that or whatever? I don't know. But I mean, that's a whole different story.
I mean, I played it last night. I just wondered if you talked to.
No, what'd you think? Because I know like multiplayer stuff isn't usually your bag, and I don't know if you've played extraction shooters before, but
I mean, I played Rainbow Six Siege Extraction one evening and
that's
just
not
didn't
really
like
an
it.
extraction shooter. But yeah, I know what you mean.
And then I've played the Dark Zone of
Yeah,
the Division back
Division.
in the day.
That which always was
But-
fun. It was fun.
I mean, it's not my thing. Like that stress of get out or it's all over is not like my thing. But I played like 30 minutes of Arc Raiders and it didn't match me with anybody. So solo, I walked in this open, empty world with abandoned warehouses and looted some stuff. And a little flying drone came over and just kept taking my health down. I was trying to take it down. Then I died and then I respawned, went back in. I finally ran into a drone that killed me. And I'm like, why are there no NPCs to shoot at? Are there there's nobody online that's running around trying to kill me? And so I just did 2 matches. I'm like, I can't play this right now because I didn't understand why I didn't know what to do. But all I've heard is positive things, so I'll have to go back and play it. I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, I wonder when it's going to release. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a release date maybe at the Keeleys and this summer at Summer Games Fest. Maybe it's possible. I mean, I think last year, or maybe it was the year before, because this is the same publisher that put out the finals, and I want to say that like sort of shadow dropped at the Summer Games Fest either last year or the year before. I'm not sure on the dates at this point. So I wonder if they do the same thing, or now that hey, GTA 6 is not in the fall, all right, we can kind of move our big shooter game to the fall and position Arc Raider. You know, if they want to do something funny, they could put their game out like the week before, you know, Marathon. You know, if it's really that good, and you know, I don't know, but that's a lot of the other stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Arc Raiders is something I would try out, but I currently don't really have any interest in Marathon. So, this news also for this next thing, disappointing as always, as layoffs usually are. But EA had to lay off like 400 people, 100 people at Respawn, which I guess Apex Legends isn't doing so hot anymore. From, you know, when it was one of the, you know, like big three, when it was like Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Apex Legends. So much so that, you know, I think they even called out its bad performance at EA's last fiscal call. And FC, the FIFA game, their soccer game didn't do well. So they had to lay off a whole bunch of people then and a whole bunch of people now. And then because of it, a Titanfall extraction shooter was canceled. So it seems like everybody's on these extraction shooters, but man, they just won't make Titanfall 3, will they, Colt? No matter what, it's just like they're just not going to do that game for whatever reason. It's like, yeah, you hear it's like, oh, a Titanfall game's in development, but it's a Titanfall extraction shooter. It's like, we were this close to greatness, you know? Like, come on, where's Titanfall 3?
I don't know what the Titanfall 2 sales were.
Not good.
That's probably
well, it was
why,
sandwiched.
you know?
If you remember, it was sandwiched between Call of Duty Infinite Warfare the week before, and then Battlefield 1 the week after. And Titanfall 1 was an Xbox exclusive. So Titanfall 2 was coming out on like PlayStation and PC at the time. And I remember people saying like the multiplayer was nowhere near as good. And even though it had one of the great single player campaigns in shooter history, that wasn't really enough to save it from a Call of Duty and a Battlefield. And that was before Battlefield really kind of started going downhill with like Battlefield 5 and, you know, like kind of when it, you know, hit its down mark. Like Battlefield 1 was super popular, if you remember, right? Because it's like, oh, we're going back to like one of the World Wars. It was a lot of fun. And then Infinite Warfare was also, I don't know if anybody's played the Infinite Warfare campaign. And this is something I think I remember telling you because you hadn't. And I'm like, dude, Infinite Warfare's campaign is epic. It is great. And it's one of those ones that is constantly overlooked by people when they talk about great Call of Duty games. Yeah, it's the space one. It's freaking awesome. And yeah, and then there was Titanfall 2 sandwiched in between. It was like, yeah, bad time to release it, I guess. And then they ended up buying Respawn soon after that. And then, you know, Apex Legends comes out, and they get the Star Wars Jedi games, which are absolutely amazing. But did you ever end up playing Infinite Warfare?
Oh yeah. I played it in like 2019 or 2019, I think.
So fun.
Yeah,
Such
I finally went back because I used to call it Call of Duty to Infinity and Beyond because we made fun of like they went to space and they did the Fast and Furious jokes, and then my buddy Dealer was like, "Bro, it's fire. You got to play it." And I loaded it up, and immediately I was like, "Why the heck did I make fun of this? This is probably one of my favorite Call of Duty campaigns." And I think the fan favorite is World at War and Infinite Warfare, which is like two totally different universes. And I used some of that footage when I used to talk about Starfield before Bethesda like would ever show anything what Starfield looked like outside of you know that one trailer parked on the moon.
But Call of Duty Infinite Warfare had a better space combat than Starfield.
That's not a hot take at all. I mean, Starfield space combat is still great, but
it's still really good. But Infinite Warfare was very satisfying.
Yeah. And looks way cooler too.
Yeah, it certainly does. Oh man, such a good game. And I mean, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 just hit Game Pass today. I think they announced it earlier in the month, and I think today was the day it was added, or it's coming soon. Did you? I mean, I don't know. You're not really like a Call of Duty guy. I'm someone who's always plays the campaigns. So like, I play Modern Warfare 2's campaign, but it wasn't.
I've played almost all the campaigns.
You played almost all of them? Okay.
3 or 4 I haven't played. Yeah, I'm pretty close.
It just kind of begs the question, since we're talking about Infinite Warfare, it's like, they're really slowing up these roles of these Call of Duty games on Game Pass, right? Infinite Warfare would be a great addition, but they're really taking their time because there's only 3 COD games on there. They're Modern Warfare 3, the day one release of Black Ops 6, and this Modern Warfare 2. So they have the 3 most recent releases on there. Presumably Call of Duty Black Ops, or whatever. The rumor is this year's Call of Duty is a Black Ops 2 sequel.
Yeah, it's hard to say that.
Which I've seen a lot of the Call of Duty insiders say it's not very good, and nobody's even really wants to say who's making the game, because it's Treyarch was last year, and next year is Infinity Ward, who's doing probably Modern Warfare 4. So you would think this year's Sledgehammer Games, but I don't know.
Are we going to get another 2023 Call of Duty, like low-rated Call of Duty game, or what?
I mean,
like we did with Modern Warfare 2 or whatever it was.
Modern Warfare 3, it was like a 57, because they basically had to reuse like all the most of the maps from Warzone to fill out the campaign. It was like 12 missions, 6 open world missions where it was just reskin, maps from Warzone, and then 6, regular Call of Duty levels. And it was just, in comparison to other releases, it was just like, this is awful. So I don't know. We'll see what that's going to be. But I think we sort of do know that when it does release, it's going to be $80. So, which is, I mean, I guess we can sort of, we'll talk about how thing went from the week, right? Because the day before, Microsoft announced their financial report for the quarter, January, February, and March. So it was the previous 3 quarters, April, May, and June going on right now. There's a lot of, I think people are excited about what their Xbox's next quarter report is going to look like, because it's going to have South of Midnight on it. It's going to have Oblivion on it. It's going to have Doom on it. It's going to have, all these games that have come out recently, April, May, and June. That people are going to be, and then the PlayStation 5 releases. Well, plus the PlayStation 5 release of Forza Horizon 5 and Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Which, did you see that report that apparently Indiana Jones is selling better on PlayStation than it was on Xbox?
Seriously?
There's a report by an analyst or whatever.
Are you serious? No, I'm just being facetious.
Yeah,
of course it is. There's double the PS5s, and PlayStation 5 does not have Game Pass. Of course, it's going to be way higher sold.
Most people who played Indiana Jones, I think they mentioned like 5 million people had played Indiana Jones on like Xbox or Game Pass or whatever, but that it was selling faster on PlayStation 5, and it's like, well, probably, yeah. God, Indiana Jones was such a great game, wasn't it?
It was. It was good.
And it was one of those games that there was a lot of like doubt behind. Like, people were like, oh, is this really going to be good? Like, maybe even a lot of the trailers that they showed off previously, like people were just worried about the combat. And then it comes out and it's like 87, 88, and released too late in the year, where like I figure if it had released maybe a month earlier or 2 months earlier, it would have been in the Game of the Year contender.
It was like December 8th or something, which was a
like,
weird time.
And it was such a great game. And I know there's DLC coming, so I really can't wait to get back into Indiana Jones and whatever the DLC is. Although usually DLC is always never really as good as the main game. But I do want Machine Games to fix my glitch.
They still
haven't. It pisses
haven't.
me off. It's like I have one more one more collectible cog out of the 50, and it's behind this puzzle in the jungle level, and it's like you have to put these cogs and you have to kind of link them together to open the cage to get the artifact. And the cogs they aren't interactable. I can't interact with them. They're usually a white glow around things you can interact with, but For this one, there's not. And they've said they fixed this in previous patches, and it doesn't work for me. So it's like literally, and I know nobody's really going to care, but, you know, like I love Indiana Jones, so games I really like, I try to get, you know, all the achievements in or whatever and do everything in the game.
It doesn't matter.
It's like literally like the last thing I need, and I'm stuck and I'm glitched on it. I'm like, come on.
You played the game to its entirety, and you can't like finish that final thing because that glitch is holding.
And every
you
time
back,
there's an update, I load my game up, hoping and praying that it's fixed, and it never is. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
And you never leave games installed when you're done with them either.
No, I left this one installed because I know there's DLC coming. So, but normally, yes. I mean, plus it's like 140 gigabytes. You know, it has like a 70 gigabyte HD texture pack. I don't know if you ever looked at that in the manage options of the Xbox, but yeah, it was like a 70 gig game and then 70 gigs for an HD texture pack. So there's all that stuff. So Microsoft's financial reports, which I think you probably touched upon in your video today, but I'll just
so briefly.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it because it dovetails into the next day, right? Like of what was essentially happening. So
yeah, I didn't want to celebrate any more about their financial extravagance.
Well, yeah.
Than I did the day that report came out. It's really embarrassing.
So, gaming revenue was up 5%, which, hey, you know, number goes up. Everybody's happy, right? Hardware revenue declined 6%. Boo, number go down. Not happy.
Hold on. I looked at that as hardware revenue went, or that it went up because they were down 36% last quarter. This time they're only down.
It's not declining. It's not declining like 30% or 25% like it has been almost every single quarter.
Yeah, it didn't decline an additional 30%.
Yeah, so it only declined 6%. So I guess when looking at it in comparison to the previous 8 quarters or 7 quarters, hey, that's actually pretty good. It only dropped 6%.
Well, can we pump the brakes on that for a second? Because you know, all jokes aside about, you know, the hardware decline, it is very difficult for Xbox to sell consoles for many reasons. But if you look at last quarter, where the quarter before they were down 36%, this time they were only down 6%. You're like, well, what's the difference? Why it wasn't the holiday season? Why are their consoles up? And the only correlation I can see is they had more games. And when you have more games, it's easier to sell a console that's called an Xbox. And I think there's been, over the past 3 years, you and I have talked about it a lot, how Xbox has gone 6 to 9 months with nothing impactful release from their first party studios on their console, or, you know, most of these games are still kind of exclusive. So yes, their console's decline was really cut short because they had Indiana Jones, they had Avowed and South of Midnight, and those games kind of carrying through, because wasn't it the long stretch from May 2024 Hellblade until we finally started getting games with Indiana Jones? And
it was Hellblade 2, which I loved. Came out in May. You know, reviewed about the same as the previous Hellblade games. And then like you get to the September, and I think it was Age of Mythology Retold and Our History Untold, both released in September. I want to say Black Ops 6 came out in October, which was big, was the first Call of Duty game on Game Pass, and I think it bumped up Game Pass numbers for a bit. Also, Stalker 2 hit Game Pass, and that was exclusive to Xbox, and it's still, when I use the word exclusive with Xbox, I think everybody knows is like exclusive means it's on the console, but it's also on PC, right? Because Xbox hasn't had an exclusive game since 2016 when Quantum Break went to PC. You know,
for Xbox, exclusive just means it's not on PlayStation yet.
Yeah, it was now. Black Ops 6 was in October, and then November was Stalker 2 because they had the partnership with them. And also, you forget Flight Sim 2024, which I think everybody's forgotten because of how badly that game launched, right?
I didn't even play it. I played it for an hour.
And you played the previous one for like 30 hours? Something like that?
50 hours?
Yeah,
I really liked the first one. This one was garbage, absolute garbage, which is strange coming from Asobo. Now I'm blanking.
Asobo. The people that made
Asobi is the
people that made God, the game with the rat. Like my mind's going.
Innocence, Plague's Tale,
Plague's Tale, which I love both those games. But yeah, they did the first game and the second game. And the second game came and went because there was a lot of people couldn't log in. It had a whole bunch of issues and stuff.
The flight controls were effed up. It's just I don't even know how that Xbox just pushed that out. It's their fault.
Okay.
So,
all right, let me see here. I think guest is ready to come in. All right. Paris, sir, are you there?
Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
There we go. So the other guest has finally arrived. We have the one and only Paris Lilly joining myself and Code Eastwood to talk about everything. What's up, bro?
I want to point out the insanity of social media. And
okay.
Colt, you deal with this all the time. I literally, and I saw you're playing Doom as well. All I said was, I'm playing Doom. It's coming out May 9th. I got a reply that said, wait, I want to read it to you. I want to make sure I get this right because this is insane. You are so quick to thank and praise Microsoft even after the price hikes. Where did I praise anything? What did I say?
These people aren't real. They're not real.
They're not. They're literally not real. You can't say anything because the irony is, and I know we're going to get into it, I am 1,000% against these price increases for various reasons. So, and said as much yesterday. So it's insane. You can't say anything. And Colt, I know you go through it a lot.
Oh yeah, some guy told me yesterday. He's like, some guy goes, I can't wait for the Xbots to, defend these price hikes. And I said, absolutely. Nobody should be defending this. And this one guy goes, oh, your track record, bro, shows that you will defend it. And then some guy shows him the tweet where I called out Aaron Greenberg when he, or not called out Aaron Greenberg, but retweeted Aaron Greenberg when they reversed the price hike, the double price hike on Game Pass a couple of years ago. Like, I've been very vocal about price hikes against PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard to just not excuse these corporations. We'll get into it because there is a big discussion. There's a lot of different facets to what happened with the price hikes.
Yeah, it's been a while, so I haven't actually spoken to Paris probably in like we talk in the DMs, but I haven't actually spoken to you in like probably a year. Because usually we have you on Xbox 2+1 after the showcase. I think we've had it the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
No, you did. I wanted to get your thoughts here because I know you're a big Destiny guy, and you've kind of made some people angry with your thoughts about Marathon and its pricing and all that stuff. So could you talk about that for what are your thoughts on Marathon and the premium pricing? And have you played Arc Raiders, which everybody says is way better, and Destiny 2 should be, or not Destiny 2, but Marathon should be delayed?
Yeah, it's funny. I was made aware of, I guess there's some meme going around with me about Marathon. I've been in that creator program since 2023. I played it in the summer of 2023. That's when I played Marathon. And then I've now played it here with the closed alpha again. And so, and during that time, I've been a part of the program to see some of the changes and the feedback, that people have been getting. So, I've been pretty aware of what Marathon currently is. And I've been vocal this entire time. It should be free to play. You should not be charging a premium price for it. Because even when they had me up at Bungie back in 2023, part of our session was talking about pricing and what they should do and should not do. And even then I was saying, don't charge a price for it, make it free to play. And obviously don't have pay to win in the battle pass, stuff like that. And I heard you guys talking about it a little bit before. So since I have played it, I feel very comfortable giving my opinion to say that this does need to get delayed. It's not ready. It's not ready. You don't have all the maps ready, features that you're talking about, because I know Destin kind of transcribed the Discord chat that we had. And you're talking about things that are not going to be there on day one. I've learned over the years, if it's not there at day one, just assume that it's you can't bet on potential. If it's not there, then no, I'm just going to assume that it's never going to come because we've seen way too many instances of promises being broken. So don't tell me what you're going to do, deliver. So in that sense, why are we putting this game out right now? You're charging potentially $40 because they've not said it officially yet, but they're potentially charging $40 for this thing. It's DOA. And I guess that's the little meme that's going around because I gave a tweet about I asked my kids because they play all this stuff. They laughed. They're like, I'm not paying no money up front. Why would I pay money up front when I can go play Fortnite or Marvel Rivals? That is exactly what they said. Jeez. And that's the whole point. Not to mention you're doing an extraction shooter, which, and I think what I said the other day is they just need to pick a lane on what it is. Stop trying to be the extraction shooter for everyone. It will not work. Either go all in on being hardcore or be super casual, but trying to appease. This is what they did with Destiny for 10 years. They were constantly trying to appease both crowds. You can't. So I love Bungie. Obviously, they've entertained me for well over 20 years at this point. I want Marathon to succeed. I'm not against it, but I see too many red flags right now that concern me. I think the price is a major concern. I think the lack of maps and variety at launch is a concern. Look, there's fun to be had. And there's tweaks with, the aimbotting on PC, stuff like that. You can tweak all that stuff. That's fine. But for this thing to come out in September, in its current state, it's not going to attract a big enough audience that it needs. I just don't think so, especially with that $40 price point. I think people will see the price point and go, I don't know. Do I really want to spend that on this? I'm not sure. I just think it holds it back. I really do. And look, I'm glad that it's going to be on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation all day one, so you can have the biggest audience possible. But I don't have the confidence that this is ready. I feel like delay this thing to spring next year or something like that. Give it more time. Get all your maps and modes. Halo Infinite went through this in 2021, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't do this again. That's my thing, because I want it to succeed. And if you roll the tape, I said the same thing almost a year ago about Concord, because I saw potential in Concord, but I was like, they ain't ready. Why are you charging? It should be free to play. And that game had a 10-day lifespan, and it was gone. Now, I'm not saying Marathon will last longer than that regardless. Don't get me wrong. But you're not seeing the interest that you would expect for a Bungie shooter, even in a closed alpha. Not to mention, I'm not necessarily, and I know they'll do open betas and all that during the summer, but even in this closed alpha, you saw a lot of the big streamers jump on it right away. They got access, and then they quickly moved on to the Arc Raiders and the other stuff of the world. They didn't stick with Marathon throughout this entire alpha period. That says a lot, too.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them. Because I'm kind of with you. Like, maybe it probably should be delayed, especially if Arc Raiders is going to come out anytime this soon, because now you don't got to worry about Grand Theft Auto anymore,
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. I see BT Maverick in the chat said I called this on Anthem. So let me tell this story really quick about Anthem. I was a part of that preview process as well, along with a whole bunch of other Destiny creators. And I will never forget being at BioWare, and we were in this this panel thing with the devs, and we played it for hours, and they wanted our opinion. It was unanimous. This was October before it came out in that January, and we were saying it, delay this game. It's not ready. Don't do this. It's not ready. No one's going to accept this. Everybody's looking for this, and this, and it's not doing it. And they put it out anyways. And the rest is history. So I don't know. I think I'm bad luck. Don't bring me in early for games, because every game, I'm serious. Every game I've been a part of early has not done well.
Uh-oh.
None. Not a one.
That's
Don't
such a piece of crap thing.
again.
That's such a piece of crap thing to say, because that's exactly what people will cherry pick. Like you liked Redfall, you liked Cyberpunk, which Cyberpunk was a fantastic game at launch. I don't care what anybody says. And yeah, but whatever. If you weren't on,
I didn't. Hey, I am not one of the Redfall. Redfall, I kind of called even during the preview. I was like, something about this. I was like, I got to see more. That was kind of my thing. And then obviously once it came out, we saw there wasn't more.
That goes back to the if it's not there at the preview, it's probably not going to be there.
Everybody was happy that Cult took all the brunt for the Redfall previews, and everybody else skated by clean.
I got so many DMs from people who are like, thanks for taking the heat. Because I talked to a million sub YouTubers who are like, I thought the game was really cool. No, all right.
Look,
I wanted to ask you, Paris.
Go ahead.
When it comes to Marathon, if 100% potential, I want to ask you about its potential. If 100% means this game's going to be good, people like it, it'll do pretty well or really well. What percentage of potential are you seeing right now with the state the Marathon's in?
Probably about 65%, I would say.
It's not bad.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I think there's something there. Don't get me wrong. There absolutely is. I just don't think the game's ready for prime time yet. I think it's going to launch in an incomplete state for the vision that Bungie truly has for it. It's going to come out incomplete. We're not in a world where you can launch incomplete games anymore. There's just too many other things. See, part of it, a very smart person told me this a long time ago. The biggest asset, biggest commodity that you have in gaming is time. You only have so much. And if there's other games that are taking up your time, you got to do something phenomenal to get me to stop playing that game that I'm already enjoying. And that's where I bring my kids back into it again. I hear my daughter upstairs screaming every day as she plays Overwatch and Marvel Rivals. Every freaking day. That's what she loves.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to get her to stop playing that game so that she wants to go play your game? That's what it comes down to. And like I said, we already know social media isn't a real place, so I ignore that stuff. But in the real world, people only have so much time to play games. So if they find something fun that captures their attention, they're going to stick with that. If they're having fun with it, they're going to stick with it. And the whole thing I was saying about free to play is, look, the Band-Aid's been ripped, the toothpaste is out of the tube. We're in a world now where multiplayer games, people look at you sideways if it's multiplayer only and you're charging for it up front. They're going to go, why is this isn't free to play? You know, unless you have some kind of single player campaign to go with it. If it's only going to be multiplayer, the rules now say it should be free to play and you earn my money through a battle pass. I willingly want to buy your battle pass and the cosmetics and all these things. That's just the world we're in now. So people can fuss and hem and haw about that all the time, but we've seen way too many examples currently where these multiplayer games fail. So what are you doing to get me to stop playing Call of Duty, to get me to stop playing Fortnite, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, Apex, Minecraft? You know what I'm saying? There's these core games now that people play, you know, competitively or cooperatively that take up all your time. So you got to do something phenomenal to get me to stop playing it. I don't know if from what I see, Marathon's not going to do that. Not in this current state.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to see if they move it or I don't know, unless they make a whole bunch of improvements to the beta or to the alpha, right? So, but transitioning back to Xbox, because now it's basically like all the stuff that happened. Just quickly to go over, you know, me and Colt were talking about the hardware decline. It's like, hey, it's only 6% this time. At least it's not 25%. But I sort of wonder what the decline is going to be for the next quarter, considering the console prices just jacked up.
I have a question about that, though. When I heard you guys say that, I guess I interpret when I see these numbers, they're based off of whatever they did the previous quarter.
Yes, it's based on year over year, yeah.
So in other words, they're still even. So what was the one quarter before? It was like 30% or something, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 36.
So in other words, it kind of stabilized, but it's still negative. It's still going down, is what I saw.
It looked like, yeah,
That's how
stabilized from whatever.
Wait,
you know.
I want. What's your take on that, Paris? When you see it was down 36 last quarter. This time it's only 6% down. How do you correlate that? Less of a bleeding out for consoles.
Yeah, I mean it's less, but it wasn't a positive. So I'm doing very bad math here. So if the previous quarter it was a 30% loss, so let's just keep it simple and say it was 700 units they sold, right? So then you're now basing this quarter off of we'd have to sell 700 units to break even. So that means they've now sold with another 5% loss, like 600, right? Or you get bad math, but you get my point.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It's still going down. Sure, it might have leveled off, but you're now basing that number off a smaller hardware base versus what you previously were projecting anyways. So the way I look at it, this is an Xbox campaign. Obviously, the LG promotion they just did, the Samsung, is already doing cloud gaming. They're putting games on PC. They're putting games on PlayStation. And it goes back to when we talked to Phil Spencer in January. Okay, you're doing all of this. Then why am I buying an Xbox? And this is what other people are saying in the real world too. If I can play Forza Horizon 5 on my PlayStation, why am I buying an Xbox? I don't need to anymore. And I kind of just think we're in a world now where they're okay with that. They seem to be perfectly fine with that. Because I know, Rand, you and Jez have talked about this, and Colt, you and Mag have even talked about this too, where, there will always be this core audience that will buy Xbox hardware. But they were taking a loss.
15 million people at least, right? Sure.
But they were losing money on that regardless. Every time they sold an Xbox, they lost money. So, and I'm sure we'll get into this more now, they don't want to do that anymore. So if the number goes down and it whittles down to 20, 30 million Xboxes are being sold in a generation, I think they're fine with that, because as the numbers are showing us now, people are more than willing to buy an Xbox game on a PlayStation. They will on the Switch too, and on PC and all that. So sure, people like to do the memes and make fun. Oh, Xbox is third party now. I kind of think they don't care. I think they're we're a corporation that's about for profit, and we're trying to make profit, whether we like it or not. I just simply look at it this way: give me great games to play. I really could care less where I'm playing them. You know what I mean? So if you're gonna keep doing what you've been doing the first half of this year, okay, fine, because that means I'm getting great games. That's all that should matter, anyways.
Yeah. I mean, they even mentioned here content and services revenue was up 8%, driven by growth in Game Pass, Call of Duty, Minecraft. Satya put out and said that the end of the quarter is the top publisher on both Xbox and PlayStation for pre-orders and pre-install. PC Game Pass increased over 45% year over year for revenue. Cloud gaming set a new record for 150 million hours played. So it's like all this other stuff, like, hey, we're doing great over there. We're doing great here too with our stuff, but we're also doing great over there. And it's like, oh, cloud gaming was the thing, it's like, we're doing great over there. Like all the stuff you don't really need a console for. And then a big, 75% increase in weekly active users for Minecraft, for the Minecraft, lead up to the Minecraft movie, which I'm sure probably skyrocketed Minecraft's monthly active users for April when it actually came out. But then Xbox the next day, which if you guys listened to the podcast last week, me and Jess sort of teased price increases. I don't know if anybody caught that. We were kind of down low on the sly. We were like, I wouldn't be surprised, because we talked about like Sony doing price increases and Nintendo being $80 games. And I'm like, yeah, Xbox probably going to be doing price increases because of the tariff stuff. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if it was next week. Wink, wink. But it's funny because I remember this one time I said, hey, I bet you any money a Call of Duty game is going to come to Game Pass by the end of this month. And then Paris DMs me, is like, bro, what are you doing? You're going to get picked up by all these websites. And I'm like, nah, I know what I'm doing. And nobody even picked it up. But for people who were listening, they knew exactly what So you gotta be a little sneaky. People did pick up Jez's stuff about the 3 controllers for next generation. But nobody picked up the price increase tease that me and Jez had in there. But yeah, so the day after their quarterly results, which I thought were good, they decided to raise the price of basically everything except Game Pass. But I think that doesn't necessarily mean Game Pass is not going to increase in price this year. And I think they've done it. They've increased price on Game Pass usually after the showcase, in July. So potentially, we're not out of the weeds yet. Although I guess you could make the argument, if you're planning on increasing everything, you might as well do it all at once. So it's like, hey, we increased prices of the consoles, accessories, and games. Why, if you were planning on increasing price of Game Pass, you might as well have just thrown that in there too, just to be like everything. It's like a smorgasbord of bad news, right? Instead of being like, actually, we're going to increase the price of Game Pass later in the year and then go through a whole nother, bad news cycle. But so here in the States, which is surprisingly, because Xbox has raised the price of consoles before, and so has PlayStation, but usually in other countries. And I think a lot of the other people in other countries kind of get really angry and disappointed about that, because it seems like those countries are then subsidizing the U.S., right? Before it was like, we're going to raise prices everywhere, but we're not going to do it here in the States. Well, but, now that 145% tariff on China, products coming from China is being implemented, and most Xboxes are made in China, Microsoft isn't going to eat that cost. And now we have the new pricing here for the States, which is Series S is now $379, which is $20 less than the PS5 digital, which is an awful value comparison. The Series S 1 terabyte is $429. The Series X digital is $549. And the Series X regular Series X is $600. And the Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Special Edition is $729, which is $30 more expensive than the PS5 Pro. They also increased prices of like the controllers by a little bit, all the stuff here. And then they made mention of increasing the price of games, just like select games towards the end of the year, which, you know, $80 games coming right on the heels of Nintendo's $80 games, which I do recall Donataku said nobody was going to increase their prices of games to $80. Well, I guess, what do you say now, Donataku, huh? It happened in the same month. So, because he said that it was a cartridge thing, and I'm like, I don't know. They think these publishers are all going to try to get as much money as they can out of it as possible. Now, everybody hates paying more for stuff. I mean, console prices usually go down in a generation. They don't go up, and they don't go up by this amount. So it's like, usually the early adopters don't get the best deal, and it really does seem like the early adopters got the best deal. And then the whole game situation with $80, like, what is going on here? And I always find it interesting because if you look at the 3 highest rated games this gen, or not this gen, but this year, it's, if you go on like OpenCritic and Metacritic, it's Expedition 33, it's Blueprints, and it's Split Fiction. And that's a $50 game, a $30 game, and a $50 game. So now you're probably going to have Call of Duty at 80, and who knows how many other companies are going to...
And it won't be Game of the Year. It'll just sell one of the most
Yeah,
copies.
I mean, it will sell, but, you know, the just because something's $80 doesn't mean it'll be quality, but then it's like, also, Cole, Xbox has raised prices of games twice in 2 years, because when everybody raised their prices in 2020, Microsoft didn't. Because they were still doing cross-gen, which they got reamed for, if you recall. Mm-hmm. They didn't actually raise prices
stuck in last gen.
until Redfall, which was their first $70 game in 2023. And now 2 years later, they're raising the prices to $80 for some of their games. Like, we know that Ninja Gaiden 4 and Outer Worlds 2 are coming this fall. I'm not sure if both of those games are going to be $80, because I'm not sure if those games could really do well under those price tags. So they could still kind of keep the price the same, but something like Call of Duty is going to be 80, something like Fable is going to be 80, something like Gears E-Day is going to be 80, whatever the next Halo game is probably going to be 80, and so forth and so on. And, you know, it's the whole vote with your wallet. If you don't want it, don't buy it right away. I am just kind of looking at it being like, well, Nintendo did it, and I don't think personally Xbox looked at Nintendo and was like, haha, we can get away with this. I think this is all tariff-related stuff. They're spreading the cost around all the different areas to try to make up for this 145% tariff increase. But it sucks to see, because even if you say...
What is the percentage of the console price increase? Because you said it's 145% more expensive because of the tariffs being manufactured.
No, I'm saying the tariff is supposed... So it's 145%. So it's basically 2.5. It's a 2.5 tariff on goods coming from China, but the Xbox Series X only went up $100, which is not 2.5.
Oh, so they're spreading it across the digital sales.
So they're spreading it to everything, all their consoles, all their accessories. They're increasing the price of games, and they're raising the price of all the consoles and everything else everywhere across the world that aren't affected by tariffs. So they're spreading out their impact. Otherwise the Series X and all these other consoles would be way more expensive. And Xbox already has a hard time selling these consoles as is. I don't really think a lot of people are going to be hopping at the chance to buy a Series X for $600 whatsoever. It just sucks because I know this is going to permeate through other publishers, and then like eventually $80 is going to be the standard for big AAA experiences and all that stuff. And it's like, God damn it, how did we get here so quickly? These corporations, as I always say, like they're not your friends. The people in the companies might be your friends, but the corporations themselves, they don't care. They're gonna be like, listen, we're not eating this cost, we're raising the prices, and it's just like you sit there and you're like, son of a bitch, like, because now you're gonna be looking at it like, okay, well, this game I would have bought at this price. It really sucks. I don't know, like I want to know what you guys think, Colt or Paris. Like, I'm sure you think it's just greed? Do you think Microsoft wanted to raise prices all the way up? Like, if it wasn't for the tariffs, do you think they would have kept prices as is? Or
I'm going to give you my personal take on it. And I had an Xbox employee reply to me and say, it's not greed, it's just the cost of running business. But I know that revenue and profits are at record numbers right now across the games industry. And
I don't know about profits, Colt.
Record revenue.
Yeah, but revenue doesn't mean profit, though.
Yeah. I think that these corporations want to continue to watch the chart continue to climb and be sustained in its growth so that they continue to make the money they need to make. And stuff costs more, but they're passing that cost on to us. And that's what you do in a business, in a corporation. But taking that across digital games, and I don't think they're going to remove this new price hike. I think they've set the cost of consoles. Xbox has been losing $50 to $100 per unit on the consoles that they sell because they don't sell enough of them to reach a profit margin. So they're passing that burden on to us. Xbox also invested $80 billion in their Game Pass and first party infrastructure. And Satya Nadella wants that money back now. So they're selling the games on PlayStation. They're going to bring the price of games up to $80, and the big publishers are going to follow suit. So there is some greed there. And it is proof is in that pudding where these smaller developers can spend $100 million or $150 million on a game and sell far more copies than some of the biggest titles that, can cost $300 million or even more. So the end thing I'll say, as a gaming fan and a customer or consumer, we need to stop talking about what the excuses are for the corporations and start talking about what it means for our money, our value of our dollar. Are we going to be getting $80 worth of value out of Borderlands 4?
Assuming Borderlands 4
I think a lot of people are going to have to wait. Huh?
Assuming Borderlands 4 is $80.
I mean, it could be.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, a lot of these games aren't even worth $70, let alone a lot of these games going up to $80. I don't really think a lot of them are worth it. I mean, I can maybe say a few, like Cyberpunk, I think would be worth it, or Elden Ring, or, basically my favorite games of this generation. It'd be like, yeah, like that would be worth it. But a lot of these games, like, is Assassin's Creed Shadows, would that have been worth $80? I don't know. Was it even worth $70? I mean, I thought it was a pretty good game, but I don't know if it would be like, yeah, you know what? Spend your money. $70 is like, it's like, it doesn't really seem like there's been that much of a quality improvement from the previous generation when we were paying $60. Doesn't really seem like we've seen like, oh yeah, I can definitely see why these games need to be $80. Right. I
mean, I could tell you that Red Dead Redemption 2 personally is worth $200 or $300 for me. I've played it like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But why would I pay $200 or $100 for a game when the game prices they should kind of be set where they belong? And I think the $60 range is about what they should be. And I was not happy about the $70 price increase. 2K and PlayStation were the first ones to dip in. Everyone followed suit. They knew, all these publishers, and Xbox knew they were going to go to 70. They just tried to stay quiet about it. I remember when Fonz completely derailed Aaron Greenberg on RDX and asked straight up when he shouldn't have. These are uncomfortable decisions that are being made. And then there's the whole, I'm tired of being sent the Toys R Us ad from 1992 or whatever. That is not the same thing. The entire planet cost far less back then. Everything gaming was so expensive. It was overpriced back then because you were paying for $30 manufactured cartridges, and the game was barely covered in that cost because the manufacturing, the production of those N64 and Super Nintendo cartridges were really expensive. And PlayStation got to skirt along with a $2 burned DVD or pressed DVD. They're pressed back then. Pressed DVD or CD-ROM was. It's crazy. I don't know. I just think it's not that hard to just say, why should we have to pay this much?
Well, here's the thing.
And
You don't
push against it.
You know, there's always the FOMO of missing out. So it's like you don't have to pay $80 if a game launches at $80. You can always wait for sales. And granted, like then sales would be what the previous price was, but you know, you don't have to. I just, it's like everything's getting more expensive. Gaming seems to be becoming more of a, it should be becoming more accessible, and it seems like it's not, because everything's getting more expensive. But Paris, I don't know, what are your thoughts on this? I haven't really heard you say, I don't know if you talked about this on Kind of Funny or not, but I haven't heard your thoughts on this subject.
No, I think I've actually, the only public thing I've even really said about this was when the news initially came out. I kind of just was just like, basically, this is crazy that a 5-year-old console, instead of it going either staying the same or going down, it's going up. And it's now $600 for a Series X.
And they already have a problem selling them at $500. So, I mean.
Yeah. Which, again, see, and a lot of what Colt said is where I kind of at. So I'm not going to repeat it, but I'll say this. I always come at this from the point of view of I am a customer. Mm-hmm. I am a consumer. I worry about my wallet, I don't care about tariffs, market conditions, any of that. I'm looking at how much do I have to spend for the same exact product that I was getting a year ago, 2 years ago, or whatever, right? Why is it going up? You can't justify that to me. So to see within one console generation, we are going up $20. It's insane to me to see the price of the hardware go up across the board. Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. It's gone up is insane to me. My salary hasn't gone up. You know what I mean? So it's like we're paying more for the same entertainment. So no, like I'll fully admit, I got mad yesterday, and this wasn't on Twitter, it was Blue Sky, but it's still social media because it's insane. People were literally chastising me for not being okay with the prices going up. I'm like, get the F out of here. Because no, I'm not willingly going to give you more money. No, I'm never going to be happy about spending more money. I don't care what the reason is. That's not my problem. You need to earn my dollar, not me just, well, here you go, because, you know, we got certain people in leadership with tariffs. I don't care. I care about how much I spend. And in my opinion, what's going to happen is people are going to be way more selective about what they purchase, be it the hardware, be it the games. Because again, just sticking to Xbox, because that's one thing. I'm not mentioning PlayStation or Nintendo. I've already said my piece about Nintendo. I think it's insane that Mario Kart is $80, right? But just sticking with Xbox, I'm looking at it this way. Can't blame it on the tariffs. Why is it? I know you just said they're kind of spreading it across, but a digital game has nothing to do with tariffs. Why is it $80? You wanted it to be $80. They all wanted it to be. And Nintendo opened the floodgates to this. So $80 is the new norm now for AAA games. Just is. And yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 got delayed. Now we know it will at a minimum be $80. And I fully expect it to be more than that when it comes out in May of next year. Just because they can. Just like with the Switch 2. We all, oh my God, all these prices, blah, 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 blah. Sells out immediately.
Of course.
So as long as we keep running out, spending the money, and I'm just as guilty, don't get me wrong. As long as we run out and keep spending the money, even though they keep raising the prices, they're going to keep doing it. And no, I'm not happy about it. And I shouldn't be. No one should be. Why should you be happy about spending more money, in my opinion? So, like you said, I think it was you said, Colt. Come on now. But it's like you said, people keep pulling up the Toys R Us ads from frickin' 1997. I was there. I remember when all that was going on too. And I remember then we thought the prices were ridiculous. So why would we think they're not ridiculous now? You know what I mean? And then the industry kind of stabilized and everything 50 and 60 kind of became the norm. And then you're like 70. We weren't happy with 70, but then we kind of got used to it. And then you didn't even give us time to get used to it. And now it's 80. So no, I don't think anybody should be happy with this at all.
I mean, is anybody happy with it though? I don't think anybody's happy with it.
Well, you got weirdos on social media that try to justify it.
We got Game Pass. Yeah, we got Game Pass.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny, real quick on that? And I purposely did not bring up Game Pass in anything that I said yesterday because, number one, that's going to eventually go up too. We already know that. But part of the thing with Game Pass is it's optional. So not everyone, and we know this now, not everybody's going to subscribe to Game Pass. We know the majority of people still purchase their games individually. They don't subscribe. So even in that, sure, it's a great value. And right now it looks like an even better value until they raise the price again. That should matter because most people have decided they don't want to subscribe to Game Pass. The people that do, clearly, I love it. I talk about it all the time. I think it's a great value, but that isn't the majority of people. So even in that sense, sure, it's cool that you can do it, but we're finding out, like Matt Piscatella was on with Greg, some weeks back. The average person only buys like 2, maybe 3 games a year if you're lucky, So Game Pass right there isn't necessarily a value. I always bring up my neighbor. He just gets mad in Call of Duty every year. He don't care about nothing else. So to him, he's not getting Game Pass. Why would he? But now, guess what? He's going to spend $80 a pop for Madden and Call of Duty because those are the games that he plays.
Well, at least not this year's Madden, because I did check because I want to see if they announced prices for this year's Madden, and they did, and it's $70. So I know I think eventually, maybe next year's, because I'm very curious to see what Borderlands 4 is going to be, because I don't think they've announced pricing for that yet. And Ghost of Yotai, they did announce pricing for that at $70. And I don't think they'll pull a quick U-turn and drop those at 80. But, Take-Two was I think the first one out of the gate saying $70 for their games. So I'm very curious to see what 2K is going to be this holiday. But I did look on the Xbox store, and you can pre-order Madden, and it's $69.99. So I was like, okay, well, at least they're not doing it with Madden just yet. But then again, I mean, I don't, thinking about it, like those companies don't have to deal with tariffs, and I'm not giving an Xbox a pass. I mean, because you could explain it about like, hey, they have to deal with these things. They're not going to eat the cost. This is the reason why the things are going up. Like you said, do I have to like it? Absolutely not, because I want to pay more for fucking stuff that I'm trying to get, and it's not only just going to be this; it's going to be everything else in your life. So then it's like, now I'm going to have less money overall, and all the stuff I want to buy is going to be more expensive. So now I'm going to have less money to spend on, video game stuff, which is now, it's like, now I got to sit there and think, well, is this game that's $80 actually worth it, or should I just wait? But where before it was like 70 or 60, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll take a chance on it. Now it's like new IPs or something, like people are going to be looking at it like, I don't know if this is like, I don't, $80 is a lot to spend on something with a question mark. So now so now if like you have $80, now like, people talk about how, and I mentioned this earlier, the 3 highest rated games of the year, Blueprints, Expedition 33, and Split Fiction. And one of the things that kind of, they're all different games, right? One's a turn-based RPG, one's a roguelike builder-ish kind of game, one's a linear co-op game. But the one thing that I think ties them all together is they're all unique and innovative in their space of what they're doing, which is I think why people are gravitating to them. Where a lot of the criticisms in regards to AAA has become stale. It's like they can't take risks because the games are so expensive, because the budgets are out of control. And I saw something today that an analyst is saying budgets back then were $100 million, and now the average budget for a game is like $300 million. So now if you keep on raising prices, now the publishers that are funding these games, they don't want you to take any risks, because making risks might lead to people not buying it. So now like all the the AAA stuff is all going to be cookie cutter. It's all just going to be standard, and you'll get the indie games, or the games that are not as much, are going to be the ones that are innovating in the space. And I just hate, I mean, you look at like Nintendo at $80 and it's like, oh shit, like, is this really a here we go sort of thing? And then it's like, I did not have it on my bingo card, Paris or Colt, that it was going to be Microsoft going second. I literally, when I was thinking, it was like, okay, who's going to follow Nintendo? My thought was Take-Two was going to be next because they started this, or it was going to be like EA and maybe PlayStation, like the fourth. I didn't think Xbox would be the next. And I, thinking back on it, I'd be like, well, I actually should have realized it with what's going on in the world. But you're right, Paris. Nobody wants to hear the explanation for it, right? Because realistically, nobody cares. It's all about perception. One day, your games were $70, now they're $80. It doesn't matter what the reason is. People are just going to be like, it's all just greed. Oh, Xbox was $4.99. Now it's $5.99. Like, what the fuck are they doing? And they just spent the last month getting praised for their offerings in Game Pass and pricing Oblivion at $50. And it seems like all within a quick, few day span, all their goodwill's gone. Because
we're so good at that.
It's like everything that they were building up. Like, people are talking about, this is going to be the year. Look how amazing all this is. Oh my God. And then you could really do something against PlayStation increasing their prices, or Nintendo doing this. And then Xbox does it even worse because they increase everything everywhere. And then they basically, I don't think Microsoft was following Nintendo's footsteps with 80, because I think they're always going to do that. But now it just sort of validates Nintendo's thinking. So now other publishers are going to be like, well, Xbox is the biggest publisher out there, so our game's got to be 82 to compete with them. And it's just, it's really fucking sad to
Or
see.
they're making $80 a game. Why aren't we? Or they're charging.
And especially digital games. Like, digital games aren't for tariffs or whatever, but it's just like, but it's like, you could give reasons why it is going to be the same price.
It would suck if they did 145% increase of console hardware. Like, that would really suck, but I am still really ticked off that they're, I almost want Microsoft to eat the tariff thing, but nobody's going to do that. But to pass it on to the digital games and increase games, which will never go down. They'll never go down to a $70 standard. Once you break the seal, it's over.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to ask. Because, we talk about greed and we talk about corporations, and the only thing corporations want from you is your money, right? But
yeah.
I was curious, hypothetical scenario for both of you. If the tariffs go away, will Xbox reduce their prices?
No.
Or are these the prices moving forward?
These are the prices moving forward. These are the prices moving forward. And I just to add on to what you were previously talking about that as well. My big issue, and honestly, this even goes into the multi-platform strategy that Xbox pivoted to. My biggest issue is this all happened within the generation.
Yeah.
You started the generation selling us on one thing, and then midway through, you pivoted and changed it to something else. The multi-platform thing, whatever. But more so the price part of this. Again, it's not like we're used to in the 40-year history of video games, prices in a generation for hardware and the games after, they've been out for a while, they go down. They don't go up. They don't, at a minimum, they stay the same. They don't go up. So this is all brand new to us. So when I look at this, and again, I don't care about why things are happening. People would be a more receptive to price increases on games and hardware if that's how you started the generation off, because you can obviously market it and sell it as it's more powerful hardware. I'm going to be able to do this. The games are going to do this amazing, blah, 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 blah. People would be more, it may not like it, but they'd be more accepting of it. And it goes back to what I'm saying again. You're doing this within a generation. So 2 years ago, the hardware only needed to cost this and the games only needed to cost this. But now they need to cost even more, but they're doing the same exact things. As a customer, I don't care the back end reasons why. All I see is I'm spending more money to get the same amount of entertainment.
Yeah, games haven't really advanced all that much this generation as we got into next generation to begin
and
with.
Something funny, Colt? A real, something that really sticks out to that point. There is a damn near 20-year-old game that just got a fresh coat of paint, which is probably one of the best games that you would play in 2025. And it's Elder Scrolls.
Yep. Yep.
So right there goes to show you, it's not like we've had this amazing leap in gameplay in 20 years. It's still the freaking same. But now, and that one thankfully came out at $50, but where's the value of what I'm getting at 80? Look, I played Mario Kart World. It's fun. I didn't think it was $80 fun. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're just charging me more to charge me more. You know, that's the problem that I have. And like I said, I will never defend those reasons because I'm a customer first and foremost, and I want value in everything that I get. Give me value in it, and sure, I'll spend my money on it. But if I don't think I'm getting value in something, I'm going to be a lot more hesitant to want to spend money on it. That's all it comes down to. And my dog agrees.
Yep.
Yeah, well, because you know what, the prices of games go up. You know what, games are just going to even, and I think this is already a problem for the industry, is that game prices go up. People are just going to gravitate towards the free to play games anyways that people already complain about, sucking up all the time.
They're just gonna wait. They're gonna wait to buy games.
Well, they're gonna wait to buy games, but then they're gonna be like, why do I need to spend $80 when I can play Marvel Rivals and get my goon on? Because the characters are sexy. You know what I mean? It's free. I can buy. And if I want to spend money, but like that's the thing. It's like it's just gonna draw more people to the free to play stuff, and maybe even draw more people to the indie stuff. And then it's like, Paris is right, because I'm looking at chat, and it's like, people are like debating whether or not it has anything to do with tariffs, and it's like, Paris is right. Like, it doesn't really even matter what the actual reason is. This could have been a plan, and they are using tariffs for excuse to increase the prices. So it's like, hey, you know what? It was the tariffs, and it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, my wallet's affected, and it doesn't really. It's like, what is the actual reason? It doesn't matter. It's like, today these prices were or yesterday the prices were this, and now the prices are this, right? So it's just kind of. It also, like, when you look at it from the hardware perspective, and I think Xbox is very much like, I don't want to say they don't care about selling the console, because they do, because otherwise they wouldn't. But I think the importance of the console has dramatically lessened from what Paris has said about, hey, you started the generation out with this console saying it was going to do these things and that the games were exclusive, and now we've shifted into 2025 where the console is exorbitantly expensive, and like, you could look at the pricing comparisons, and it's like, you have the Series S, basically the same price as the PS5 digital here in the States. And I think I saw you say this, Paris, or maybe it was you, Colt, but it's like, how can I recommend the Series S to people over the PS5 digital? They're like literally the same price, and the PS5 is a better machine than the Series S, and the PS5 gets Xbox games. The only thing it doesn't get is Game Pass. And I guess you could make the devil's make the devil's argument, or be a devil's advocate, which I'm sure a lot of people, Xbox fans, will go into, is like, this doesn't matter to me, the price increases, or one, it doesn't matter to me because I have a console already.
I already bought it, yeah.
So it's like the $5.99 thing, boo-hoo, I already have mine, so I'm not affected by that. Controllers, whatever, I'm not affected by that because I don't buy controllers. And $80 games, I get all Microsoft's first-party games day one in the Game Pass. So, like, you could potentially make the argument that by increasing the price of the games, that it's a stronger argument for actually subscribing to Game Pass, because, Call of Duty is going to be 80, and Gears is going to be 80, and Fable is going to be 80, and whatever. And it's like, you could be like, hey, PlayStation guys and Switch 2 guys, if you don't want to pay these $80 prices for these big, great releases, you can just buy an Xbox and get them for free. But now the prices are like, who's going to want to do that if, like, the prices are like $400 for a Series S or $600 for a Series X, where it's like, is that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could make that argument about, hey, this really makes Xbox Game Pass a better value, and it doesn't matter to me. But does that argument even really hold weight to any of you, to either of you, Cold or Paris? What do you think?
So no. I was the one that said the PlayStation thing, because I saw a thread breaking it down. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Because at the high end, you might as well get the PS5 Pro for the price. Again, we're going at current prices. I'm assuming, at some point PlayStation might raise prices too. But at current pricing, PS5 Pro is the better value at the high end. And at the low end, you might as well get the PS5 digital. It's the better
Or the
value
Switch,
again.
too.
Yeah, or you get a Switch too, because again, it's the better value at the low end when you look at it that way. For the simple fact that Xbox now puts their first party games on PlayStation, and we know that cadence is going to increase, as we go into 2026 and beyond. So again, I'm looking at this as Joe customer. If I'm just Joe customer, I'm only buying one piece of hardware. Where do I get the most bang for my buck? It's probably going to be that, right? Now, you can bring Game Pass into this, and we can obviously talk about that. But like I said before, we know the numbers show the vast majority does not subscribe to Game Pass. So someone like us, sure, we see the value in that. We probably would make that decision. But the average customer on the street's not doing that. They're just walking into GameStop and they're going, well, why am I buying the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte? I think because it's more than the PS5 Pro now, isn't it? It's
$730,
like
$30 more expensive.
Yeah.
Right
Why
now.
am I spending $730 for that when I can get the PS5 Pro that has the same amount of storage and is actually more powerful, and it has access to more games?
Yeah.
That's how you have to look at it. So I say this as, because I'm sure someone will clip this and it'll be everywhere. I say this as someone who obviously does a lot with Xbox. I'm a fan of Xbox. I obviously talk about it a lot. I say this because sometimes you need to speak the stuff out loud as far as being critical of them, because no, I don't agree with this price increase. I don't agree with, for whatever reason, putting it at this state, because to the very point of what we're saying is you are de-incentivizing people to buy your hardware at these price points.
Oh, yeah.
Why would I? I mean, that's a question they have to answer themselves. I mean, maybe they got some master plan. Maybe at the summer showcase,
you did say earlier in this podcast, you did say that they're probably okay with
exactly. They're probably okay with it.
They're probably okay with the console being $600 and not, being bought, because
I know they're okay with.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, because again, this goes back to when we talked to Phil in January, and I asked, why am I buying an Xbox? And excuse me, he's talking about the next generation. Yeah. They're going to do something very innovative. So what is that? What is the innovative? Because at these price points, what is the innovative thing that you're going to do that makes me go, I'm getting that. I need that hardware at that price because of it does X, Y, and Z. That's what they have to show and to prove it. So they've essentially put themselves back into a you need to prove it to me stage to their customers, because you've put your games on other platforms. So it isn't, well, I got to buy an Xbox to play Halo, because we know that's about to change, right? So what is it that your hardware is doing that I'm going to go buy it? Or do you just simply not care anymore that we will provide hardware and it is simply like the Surface, where it's a reference model hardware? If you buy it, great. If not, we'll still get you to subscribe to Game Pass on PC, or you'll buy the game at $80 on PlayStation or the Switch. That's how I see it, where they're headed. But, this price increase right now, they've essentially stagnated their hardware sales for the rest of this generation, in my personal opinion. I don't look, that 6% probably goes to 15 or 20 next quarter.
It might even be worse, because it's comparison to April, May, and June of last year. Now the prices of the consoles are way more expensive. So, I guess if the same amount of people bought them, then the revenue actually would go up, because it actually costs more. But I have a feeling that the amount of people buying them will go down. And the extra money won't account for that, so it'll actually decrease a lot more.
And with all that said, like I said before, if you're making great games and because this is an Xbox campaign is all about. If you don't care where I play the games and you keep making great games, then people will buy your great games wherever they decide to play. And it truly seems they're perfectly fine with that. So be it.
Cole, how do you feel about the argument, that the devil's advocate argument that I was just saying about, hey, it doesn't matter for us because we got Game Pass and I already own the console, and it's actually a good strategy because now you can have the PlayStation guys or the Switch guys being like, maybe I should get an Xbox to get these games for free through Game Pass or whatever. What do you?
I don't like that argument at all. They're not going to buy an Xbox.
Yes.
You're already locked in 5 years into the generation. Like, you're probably already locked into your favorite ecosystem toward the end of the PS3, Xbox 360 era. But there's a lot of layers there because we're getting older. Like, Paris and I are super old. We're like 100 years old.
Who's older between you two? You or Paris?
I think I probably am.
Yeah.
No, I am.
But
I'm old. I remember the 70s.
Oh, you do? Well, I mean, Paris may be a year older than me, but we're old. Like, the newer generation, my kids don't care about what the next console or big AAA open action adventure game is. They don't care. They're playing the same thing like Paris's kids are playing. They're playing Fortnite and Roblox, and they're playing these service-based games where their friends live. They come home from school, or on the weekend, their friends get on a headset on Discord chat, and they play these social games. They don't care about the next Assassin's Creed title. And they've already decided that they're going to be on a PlayStation or an Xbox. I don't think that Xbox is going to push people to like, you can get everything cheaper on. I think what Xbox wants you to do is say, if you don't want to pay $80 for the Outer Worlds 2 or whatever, play it on literally any device except a PlayStation. And you could play it on Game Pass on any device that allows you to play that thing for $20 or whatever it is. $20, you get to play the next big game from Xbox for the entire month for pennies on the dollar. But I don't know how many people are going to do that until that infrastructure grows to be a better experience. I don't want to play my games on the cloud. I'm not going to play a brand new mainline game on the cloud and play the whole experience that way. I don't know. The devil's advocate thing doesn't work for me. Don't sit there and say, oh, I already got my console in 2020. I'm good. Too bad for all the rest of you. That just encourages the industry to continue to price hike and gouge us and make us pay those extra premiums when they should be going cheaper. Another thing that happens during the generation is Xbox or PlayStation will iterate their console where they'll make it a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter, and parts get a little bit cheaper, and they'll have this new SKU that doesn't really look different. Or, like the Xbox 360 Elite, maybe it does look a little different, but they save a few bucks on making this new console and they make a little bit more money. And it's either the same price or it's cheaper. And that's never going to happen now because they're going to raise the price of everything. It's too expensive, and everything just really sucks when it comes to the games industry right now. It's really difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that because I think when we were talking, I said, you asked me a question if because I have both an Xbox and PlayStation, but if you said, if PlayStation was like, hey, we're going to put all of our games on Xbox, but we're also going to put all of our games in a day one PlayStation Plus where you can get the games for subscription, what would you do? And I said, I'd get rid of the PlayStation and I would buy the games I want to play on my Xbox because my desire to play on my preferred platform is greater than just keeping a PlayStation around, or if I didn't have one, spending the money to get one just so I can then subscribe to the service to play a couple games a year. It's like, I'd rather, play those games on the platform I currently play. And I think that's how most people are going to view, if you're a Switch 2 gamer or if you're a PlayStation gamer and you're like, well, I'm not interested in Outer Worlds, so I'm not spending it, but I want to play Ninja Gaiden, so I'm going to spend $80 on this. And it doesn't matter to that person that it's like, oh, well, I can just get them on Xbox for free, because then that includes then I got to spend $600 or $400 and then spend this. And it's like, it's not worth the money. I already have this here. So I sort of agree with you.
Thankfully Xbox has, 8 to 10 games every year coming out. So there's more of a likelihood that people are like, oh my gosh, you could pick and choose. As a PlayStation guy, you can say, I'll just buy the Forza Horizon game and maybe the Doom game from Xbox on my PlayStation because that's where I want to play and that's where my friends are, and all those things are super important. But now Xbox is kind of wiggling into this area where it's like, do I want to spend $420 to play all those Xbox games on my PlayStation, or do I want to look at an alternative and get Game Pass and maybe play those on a PC, or my laptop's still pretty good, or maybe I'll go buy an Xbox. But Xbox just totally effed themselves when they're charging more than a Nintendo Switch for the Series S. So, I mean, they literally they could just set up the field goal and just kick it. They were doing really well. They have this excellent cadence. Game Pass is one of the best values in gaming, to use Paris's famous words. And now they're the first ones to say $80 on big AAA games next to Nintendo, and that just puts them so far behind,
right?
As the biggest publisher.
Yeah, it's like because when Nintendo did the Switch reveal at the beginning of the month, and then they're like, oh, pre-orders are delayed because they were just wondering what to do, and then it's like they didn't increase the price, but they increased the price of the accessories all over the place. I guess the next question I'll ask you guys, Paris, does PlayStation follow suit and increase their prices here in the States? Because they've been avoiding that this whole generation. They've raised prices everywhere else but the States, and Xbox did the same until obviously yesterday. So do you expect, because I saw like Ryan McCaffrey and Destin Legary being like, I'm buying the PS5 Pro for GTA 6 the day before like GTA 6 gets delayed, and they're like, especially if the PS5 Pro is going to go up in price. So do you expect PlayStation to do the same thing and being like, yeah, we just have to raise prices? Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think they're going to look at this differently? Or what do you think is going to happen in that scenario?
I think it's inevitable that they do, because when your two biggest competitors have already done it, why would you sit on the sidelines and not, again, thinking from a business perspective, and not get that additional revenue? It just makes business sense to also eventually raise their games and the hardware and accessories up in price. So I fully expect it. So the fact that you even brought up Destin, because I saw him talking about it. Yeah, if you were thinking about getting a PS5 Pro, then now's the time. I would go get it now before they do raise the price, because I don't know if it'll happen in 2025. Right?
They just, when they say the prices are up, they're up now, right?
Yeah, they're up. Exactly. So, that's why I said before, when I was talking about in comparison to the Series X 2 terabyte to the PS5 Pro, at current prices, the PS5 Pro is the better value. But at some point in time, I would imagine that will also go up. And to your point, I know they'd already been raising prices, in other countries. Yeah, it's going to hit the United States too. Again, it's business. And they know people will pay the money to get those games. So sticking to PlayStation, so it seems like Ghost of Yotai will stay at 70. Great, I'm happy for that. So maybe they go through and Death Stranding 2 will stay at 70 and all that. So maybe it will be by the time we get to spring 2026 when Grand Theft Auto comes out, and I'm assuming they'll have something big. They'll be able to release. They'll probably say, yeah, this is going to be $80.
Yeah. So like the Grand Theft Auto thing, do you think it'll be more than 80? So I'm curious, because me and Colt were talking about that before the show, because it definitely like seems like at minimum it'll be 80, but I'm still not throwing out the idea that they're going to be like, screw it, we can do this, we'll be 100. Do you think?
Well, first of all, I would like to pat myself on the back, because I did dig up the tweet that I put out pretty much a year ago, where I said, I don't care what they say, that game's coming out spring 2026. I'm with you that at a minimum, clearly it's going to be 80, but I don't think anyone should be shocked if they test the waters and go up to 90 or 100. You're going to buy it. That's what they know. They know people are going to go buy it. And to kind of bring this all the way back to Nintendo is proving right now in real time that you can complain as much as you want, but you're still buying Mario Kart. You're still buying the hardware. And that could be what PlayStation's looking at. PlayStation could, instead of being super aggressive about it the way Microsoft is, all right, let's wait and see how those Switch sales go over the summer. Oh, wait, they went great? Oh, wait, people really did go run out and go buy Mario in droves. Yep, we're raising the price too.
Gamers are notorious for saying they'll boycott, and then they just line up and just buy it all. I see it all the time.
Wasn't there something years ago with Call of Duty where they were saying that we're boycotting Call of Duty, and then it was like record numbers in sales?
It's like the Steam group or meme that keeps on going around. Gamers
or like the boycott for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it was the number 2 best sold game this year. Like,
yeah, and it was like the second best selling Assassin's Creed game ever,
which is
only behind
which is a
Valhalla.
compliment, because as gamers, we love great content. We love to play great games, and we buy stuff and we do play them. But
cool.
Paris is right. People aren't going to just vote with their wallet, quote unquote, and not buy games. I think that there will be people that will wait. But one more thing, I have a friend that's very staunch and about, I don't want to buy a $70 game. And he went through this for many years. Like, I will not pay for $70 game. And then eventually you just fold like a house of cards.
Yep.
You just start paying $70, and Paris is right. People will just, because
there are going to be some games that are worth it, even though like not everything is. What do you think about PlayStation? Do you think like Paris, that it's inevitable that at some point?
Yeah, I think since
will.
Thanks to what Paris said, he kind of laid out the roadway pretty well there, with Ghost of Yotai being $70 in October, I think.
October 2nd, yeah.
Yeah, that maybe PlayStation's like, well, we can't raise prices at 80 because we already announced Ghost of Yotai at 70 for October. Why don't we just wait till January and we'll announce it, or make the announcement at the end of the year and say games are going up to 80, starting with our next big reveal, whatever that's going to be. Like, probably this year they'll announce another big game that's coming out either toward the end of the year, early 2026, and I think that's when they'll.
I did see Z Huge on Twitter say that Sony had stockpiled a bunch of consoles for the PS5 in the US.
Yeah, can I say also, because I didn't answer you about the console. Yeah, Z Huge saying that you were telling me this, that PlayStation has a good stockpile of they say we've shipped all these consoles. You were saying, what if PlayStation weathers the storm? I'm stealing your thunder here because it was brilliant. That PlayStation can weather the storm and say, let's just sell the stock we have, and once we start getting low on the stock, then we can talk about maybe introducing the tariff prices, and maybe by then they can weather the storm and the tariffs get removed and they don't have to do it. But Paris is so spot on that why not? That money is there waiting to be spent, and people are going to buy anyway. Why not just jack up the prices 50% or whatever it is, and then let the money roll in, because it's there waiting to be earned.
Right, because like Nintendo apparently moved a lot of their manufacturing to Taiwan, so they were able to avoid the tariffs in China, even though Taiwan apparently still has a tariff. But my thought to you was like, well, ZU just saying that they've stockpiled a whole bunch of systems in the US, which obviously like they're here. So, and I was thinking like, what if, when push comes to shove, China and the US make a deal, or either side drops it, and it's like, oh, now there's no tariffs or whatever, and because of that, PlayStation's like, hey, we don't need to increase our prices.
And when is that possibility?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, Sony does have their, like, if you look at what Microsoft just did, where they announced this the day after their financial call, their financial results. Sony's financial results are like on May 14th or May 15th. So it could be one of those things where they like, here's our results, and then the next day they could be like, oh, by the way, prices are going up. I don't know. I was just, to see like, because when you look at the pricing of the Xbox consoles, they're like completely out of whack now because of like PlayStation hasn't done anything yet. And it's like, if they do, well, then everything will be back to what it was. And then the Series S will be like, okay, well, the PS5 digital is $499 and this is $379, so still cheaper. So I sort of wonder what the timeline is for that. But I mean, it's not good. Like, nobody wants to pay more for stuff, and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything to justify. Yeah, this game should be $80 this generation. Like, none of these games that have really come out and be like, yep, I could see why you need to charge $80 for it. Outside of like, hey, our dev costs are ridiculous. Right, even if
that's their fault.
I know, but even if I know the reasons why they're doing it, it's like, nah, this thing's not worth $80. Maybe GTA 6 will be worth $80. Maybe it won't be, but it's just, all right, we're going, and then it's like, oh, next generation's supposed to be here in 2 years potentially. Are we even looking? What if they raise prices again and it's $90 for everything? That's AAA and it's at some point, the buck's gonna have to stop, and it's gonna be like, I can't afford this anymore.
With tax, games will be almost $100.
Well, yeah, think about it. Like, okay, I'm gonna buy Call of Duty Black Ops whatever at $80, and it's like, oh, but don't forget taxes. So that basically is like $80. It's almost $90 at that point with taxes.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, now it's becoming like
and
super
then, like,
luxury.
My Canadian buddies, their dollar value is different, but the number is just a daunting number to look at for what they'll be paying for games in Canada. And of course, our friends that are in Australia, their number is really, really rough looking.
Yeah.
And I know it's all relative, right? But we've grown up with games being $40 to $60 most of our gaming lives, and now, like, this is the new normal.
Yeah. So
and it's kind of pricing people out, right? Paris, do you think, like, maybe consoles being $600-700 is a standard and $80 games, is that pricing out a lot of the market of people that want to play games?
That's what I said yesterday, is we're getting to the point where you're going to start pricing people out of this hobby, because not everybody can't afford to spend $500, $600, $700, $800 on a console. That was allegedly the whole point of console gaming, because it's a cheaper entry point into gaming versus PC. Now, look, PC is still obviously more expensive, but now we're getting to the point of it's being too expensive even at the console level, right? Unless you play the previous generation hardware, which I think we're going to see more and more of as we go into this next gen. I think a lot of these games that are going to be quote unquote next gen in a couple years are still going to be very playable on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X moving forward, because it's just starting to cost too much.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Like, say goodbye to like next generation only. I think to stay viable and survivable as for gaming franchises and releases, that the best way to survive is to make your game playable on the next generation Xbox or PS5 and keep it playable on the Series and PS5 or PS6 is what I meant. Yeah, like the cross-gen thing is now going to become a good thing. When it's kind of funny, we were like, oh, they're holding the generation back, and then what game did I see recently that was available on the Xbox One? I don't know if it was Oblivion Remaster or something fairly new. Oh, Claire Expedition, I think. Did you look at that, Rand?
Was Expedition 33 released on last gen? I don't think so.
It was a really new game, and I'm like, it says Xbox One on there. I was like, really?
Let's see. Claire Expedition. Nope. PlayStation 5 and Series X and S, so it wasn't that game. Was it Oblivion? I don't think it was Oblivion.
Hold on, I'm looking. I don't know where it shows that. I don't know. It was a fairly new game, and I was like, Xbox One? What? Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the games we've played could probably run on the older consoles with some work, but I don't know.
So the other big news, obviously, we've been sort of joking around about all during the podcast, is apparently, to nobody's surprise, Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed to May of next year, which I will say, like, I got caught up in the hype, Paris. I got caught up in the hype because I started to read into things that weren't there. Like, I started to read into things like, why is Marathon coming out the same day as Borderlands 4? Do they know something we don't know? Does PlayStation know something that we don't know? I'm assuming they're the marketing partner of Grand Theft Auto. Maybe they're like, okay, well, we can release it here because, Grand Theft Auto is coming out at this point. Then it was like, oh, Ghost of Yota is October 2nd. I'm like, oh, that's beginning of October. And then Mafia's leaked release date was August. So I was kind of like seeing things that weren't there, because I was like looking at this stuff and I'm like, okay, this all looks like it's setting the stage for Grand Theft Auto fall release. So I feel like I got bamboozled because it came out today that it needs another year. And then Jason Schreier was like, yeah, everybody I talked to at Rockstar this year was like, no, there's no way it's this year. We got way too much stuff to work on. And I'm like, they pulled the wool clothing over my eyes, because I was like, I was like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like doing the like I got Pepe Silva here. I don't know if any of you guys have seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but he's got like little like strings tying everything. Oh, this, it all means this. I knew because when we first started talking about GTA 6, I was like, it's 2026. There's no way of this year. And then like all those little maneuvers with the release dates all got me thinking like, oh, like even when I talked to Cole, we were both like, oh, you know, like why are they doing like why is it Mafia October? Why would they do that? Why would Marathon be the same day as Borderlands? They're kind of clearing out this big. Oh, it's got to be Grand Theft Auto. And then today it was like, no, actually, lol, it's a year from now. And then remember, like Strauss Zelnick was like, we don't need to market Grand Theft Auto in advance. We can just wait to the very end and do it. And I'm like, oh, he's got a smirk on his face. He knows something. You know what I mean? Unfortunately,
you know what I think is funny about this whole Grand Theft Auto thing, and I'm with you, Rand. Where towards more recently, and I think Colt, I had even responded to something you said the other day, where they kind of got me. I was like, oh man, I don't know, maybe it really is coming out this year, and I was starting to think mid to late October, and. You know, to keep this nameless, couple PR friends that I have, they were straight up like, we have no, like they're holding on to the release date of their games because they don't know. Like that one game has the entire second half of 2025 hostage. So when I started to see release dates coming out, I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe it really is coming out.
We're thinking the opposite.
Yeah. So, you know, like I'm not shocked because obviously I thought this even a year ago. And, you know, look, take all the time you need, man. Get it right. And this is just par for the course with Rockstar. They always delay their games.
Yeah, that is
so,
true.
I mean, we shouldn't be shocked.
I mean, there's one more delay coming after that, everyone.
You see, Cole thinks it's not coming out in May. Cole thinks it'll be delayed to fall.
Yeah,
September.
And that won't shock me either, which is so funny because I think now essentially everybody has a year heads up. So now that lessens the anxiety. You can start scheduling windows for release dates of games and all that. And then everyone will do that. And then in March, we'll get another letter from them going, yeah, we've decided to delay it to holiday. And then the scramble will happen all over again. So, and Colt, I know you got your opinion, but I'm curious your thought on this. So I'll ask now. What does Xbox do with Fable?
Oh, that was what I was going to say too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, my opinion is Fable has been moved to September, October of 2026. And that's because in November of 2024, if I remember right, they announced the delay and said, we're not going to be this year. And I don't think you announce in November that you're not coming out until next year if you need a few months. So anybody who's like, yeah, Fable's probably early spring 2025. I mean, here we are, and there's no Fable announcement, right? So I think that, or I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember that timeline. What was it, Rand, when they announced the delay?
For Fable? It was like February, I think.
It was like February.
Oh, it was February. That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So people are thinking, oh, they're gonna, you know, they're moving out of the way of Grand Theft Auto. I think that if you announce at the very beginning of the year that you know that the game needs far more than just a few months or several months, I would assume Playground looked at, I think they might have got some feedback from that little bit they showed, because some of the combat did look a little bit stilted, that they are trying to push for a late 2026. And so my assumption, Paris, is that Fable knows they want to be around October, and they're going to, okay, we're going to be out of the way of Grand Theft Auto, but Grand Theft Auto is going to come storming in like a bull in a china shop and say, we need 3 more months to get it just right. And Xbox will probably already have announced the Fable's release date at the showcase next year. Who knows? I don't know. That's my opinion.
So to answer my own question, I'm kind of with you. I'm thinking September of 2026.
Sure.
And part of my thinking on that is you got to put out E-Day on the 20-year anniversary, right? It's got to be. So I'm thinking that way, because you would have Fable in September, Call of Duty late October, E-Day in November. That'd be a pretty strong holiday lineup for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be. I mean, Xbox has this problem now. They've got so many games. Now they actually have to worry about when they come out. So It's been kind of a nice problem to enjoy, but it's interesting about Fable. It just seems like, man, why isn't that game ready yet?
You know what's crazy?
What's going on with that?
That is the last of the infamous 2020 showcase.
Is it really?
Yeah, everything else has come out at this point because Avowed came out this year.
Except for State of Decay 3.
Well,
but
no, the
yeah,
20
he's pretty much right.
State of Decay 3, Everwild.
Was that in there?
Yeah, State of Decay 3.
Oh, you're right.
Everwild
You're right.
was in there.
I thought that was 2019. You're right.
Well, I mean,
Everwild
was 2019,
Yeah.
but they also had a second trailer in 2020.
That's right. Okay, so never mind. I'm wrong then. but even still, that'll be 6 years at that point.
But they have
years.
released a good chunk of those initial like welcome to next gen. It's been a long wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. And according to Xbox Era's interview with Phil, like that, it's kind of a tease there that maybe we will see Everwild like reborn at Showcase this year.
I mean, I think we sort of.
Yeah, I kind of think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. Like when they delayed GTA, it's almost reminds me of what happened with Avowed and Assassin's Creed Shadows to a certain degree, right? Where Microsoft delayed Avowed, and their reason was, oh, play your backlog.
Your backlog.
Oh yeah, your backlog. You know, like just dumb, fucking, stupid reason. You know, when they delay Fable, it's like, game needs time. We're going to do this right. And it's like, but for Avowed, it was like, gamers, you got lots to play. We're doing you a favor by delaying this game. It's like, okay, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, they moved away from Assassin's Creed Shadows. And then Assassin's Creed Shadows delays, and then basically is right on top of it. Granted, Assassin's Creed Shadows then delayed again for a month. But Assassin's Creed still to go up against Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and, you know, like Monster Hunter Wilds and all that stuff. And there's a part of me that thinks, okay, what if like Fable was like, all right, well, we'll delay it and we'll come out in May. And then they're targeting May, and then another like Grand Theft Auto is targeting May, and they're like, fuck. But we can't be ready any earlier, but we're also not going to release in June, July, or April. So then they're like, all right, well, you know, we'll be September. But then you also got to think about Gears E-Day. Because, like, I don't think, you know, I'm pretty sure Gears E-Day is not this year. I think it's pretty apparent at this point.
Yeah.
You know, but like, okay, Gears E-Day is probably next year at some point, but a fall release. And like Gears usually September. And everyone's like, okay, we're good. And then watch like, you know, Gears E-Day and then like Grand Theft Auto gets moved on top of like Gears E-Day or Fable in the fall. And then they're like, oh fuck, what do we do? And then they got to delay the game again to like 2027 or something. Because I could see that going badly if like they you know, if they think it's all set or whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of agree with Colt that Fable might be like end of the year, but it definitely, I guess, maybe could be, you know, earlier in the year, like March or whatever. But what do you guys think? We're going to see a lot of game announcements, release dates now that Grand Theft Auto is firmly planted in 2026. Yeah, you think they're going to come hot and heavy now?
I think so. I think now Summer Game Fest, like Xbox Showcase, all of that, I think people are going to feel confident about, putting release dates on stuff, because now the big elephant in the room, you know, has been revealed, and, you know, they know their windows for releasing. But I do have another question for both of you, actually, just speaking of Showcase and all that. Do we get the Starfield expansion this year?
I think so. I mean, I think they've kind of hinted that they want the Starborn expansion to come out at the, you know, this year, right?
And on PlayStation, right? So that just seems logical. Yeah.
I think that'll be a huge announcement. You know, Starfield with a really crappy DLC and then a new cool one. That'll be great.
Or do you think Starfield will like the DLC will be later, like maybe early next year? Because I mean, I do sort of feel like, I don't know, is that enough time to really make a good DLC? Because I guess it depends on who you talk to. The last DLC for Starfield, I did not like.
No,
and
I didn't either. I didn't even finish it.
Am I expecting this next one to be? I mean, maybe this next one might be better because if they're calling it Starborn, maybe it have something to do with that group, which was something I was very interested in. With this one, I was like, I was just like, I don't care about any of this stuff. But
aren't they saying that it'll help like evolve or change the game, or is that what people are speculating? Like they need to add something to
I think what the game
augment
needs
the game.
is its own like Cyberpunk 2.0 update ish, where they.
Speaking of Cyberpunk, can I answer a question for Gaz really quick? I don't want to derail this too much.
Yeah.
First of all, he was being a smart ass in the chat. Don't think I didn't see that. But I saw something he asked on Twitter about what PC OLED monitor, because he's PC Master Race now.
PC Master Race now. Yes, indeed.
My recommendation, I'm being dead serious. My recommendation: get the 42-inch LG C5 or C4, either one.
Just a TV.
Get that. Yeah, it's a TV, but it's literally what I use.
But you
it's
can
fantastic.
put it in monitor mode, right?
Well, he was looking at
exactly.
a 500 megahertz or a 500. I don't know what something
He was
like
looking
that.
at like a 400 mega. It's like 400 frames, dude.
It's like, bro, you're not. No game is gonna play that unless you're playing the tourist.
It's like, Gaz, you know what? I'll check you out when you're on the esports scene, bruh. You know.
Yeah, because the C4 does at 4K, it'll do 144 hertz, and I think he got a 5090. So, bro, that's good enough. You don't need to be trying to do
$3,000 for just a GPU.
Hey, and he did it so he could skirt the $80 games. The price hike, which is still going to carry over to CD keys when those games are $80.
So he could troll on Twitter.
I mean, you can offset the price by going to PC. You can save a bunch of money, but when we're spending, I spent $3,000 on my PC. Like, how long is it going to take for me to make up that money by not buying everything on console? A long time. I'll enjoy it while I do it, but I don't know. The $80 price hike is going to carry across everywhere. I mean, you can get a brand new game on CD keys for $45. Instead it's been 70, but now that's going to be closer to 55 because of the price hike. So it sucks when somebody like Nintendo or PlayStation or Xbox or EA or whoever says, hey, this is what we want to charge now. Everyone better just duck and cover because we all have to freaking eat it now. And that's why I was against it. Like, don't just say, well, at least we got Game Pass. Like, you're just rolling over and just taking it. I don't think we can stop it at this point. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I know Paris has got to go soon, so I'll get you out.
I got to go in a couple minutes. Yeah.
I'll get you out of here on this. Talk about the Xbox showcase. What do you want to see? What do you need to see? And what would you be disappointed if you didn't see?
It's so funny. Someone asked me that question the other day.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, Everwild. I do want to see Everwild again, and that's why I brought up the Starfield expansion, because I would like to see that there. We obviously know we're getting the Outer Worlds 2 Dev Direct. I don't think we need to see Gears E Day at this, because that's probably a 2026 thing. I wouldn't mind though seeing Perfect Dark again to get maybe some more extended gameplay of that. I would love to see whatever Double Fine is working on. Okay. That really would pique my interest. And then, I mean, dude, they got so many studios at this point now, so it's hard to say.
If it didn't show up, what would you be disappointed if this particular game didn't show up?
Everwild.
Everwild.
I need
to
be like, it's time.
No contraband.
What? No, I mean that probably makes a lot of sense to be able to show this year. It's got to be getting close to coming out, so it's getting some actual gameplay for that. Would be a nice surprise as well. I don't think we get Horizon 6.
Jeez.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think Horizon 6 is coming out this year, so it would be next year.
No, I don't think so either. I think that's a next year.
What the heck have they been doing?
It's called
They
Fable.
didn't even do the port for PlayStation. Like, what is Playground Horizon team even doing other than that Realms expansion was not it. I thought that was.
It wasn't even expansion.
Was
it was limited time events that they just put together. Like,
yeah, I just cannot see myself ever playing that Realms again.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does have a whole bunch of other stuff, but thank you, Paris, for joining us on this episode. It's always
no,
great
thank you, and I am bummed that you will not be in LA this year. And Cole, you're not coming either.
No, I am not. My daughter's graduating that Friday, and so we'll be celebrating with the family and everything.
Well, congrats to her.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. You will be there for Summer Games Fest. So.
Yeah, I'll be there for Summer Game Fest, and all the some Xbox is doing some stuff there, so I'll get to see some stuff while I'm there. Yeah, bummed. I definitely got to meet in person, Rand.
It'll happen.
When I saw, Yeah, when I saw Colt went out to Chicago, I was like, oh man, I wish I went. You know, so
It was fun. It was fun
we'll
getting to
definitely
hang
make that
with.
happen.
Colt cooked me a steak too, though, which is great.
Nice, very nice.
It's what you got to do for friends, right, Paris?
Yeah, exactly.
for 'em.
And Gaz, since I know Gaz is in the chat, I will be in the UK this summer, and when I see you, I'm gonna whoop your ass. I just want to let you know that right now. But no, it's always good talking to both of you, man. And I'm sure we'll definitely have to do this again after the showcase.
Yeah, we'll probably get you on Xbox 2+1 after the showcase, as your usual slot. Talk about what happened there, right?
Yeah, it'll be fun. A lot of fun. Well, hey, you have a good rest of the show, and I will talk to you guys soon.
All right, later,
See you,
Paris.
bro.
Thank you.
That's hilarious.
Cody Eastwood. So
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's too bad. Too bad Gaz isn't here. Gaz would go crazy, but I'm sure he's probably busy. I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about? I mean, is there money like Grand Theft Auto? I mean, I guess it was just one of those things. There was just like, yeah, I guess we should have known, and I just wanted to believe it would be this year.
Yeah, it's just funny that I thought the opposite, like a lot of people did. Oh, 2K is putting these announcements out and leaving like a 2-month berth, as well as PlayStation doing marketing for Grand Theft Auto. It's like there's this opening. They must be ready. I think we all thought it. Everyone, there was a lot of people who are like, I called it. It's going to be delayed. I mean, saying that Grand Theft Auto is going to be delayed, it's like, saying that the sky is blue, but if you look at things, the analytics of what they were doing with their announcements and the things they were saying in their earnings calls, like even Mag admitted, he's like, I had a guy telling me the exact date. I think he said like November 15th or something. He told me after the show when we did X&C, he's like, hey, don't tell anyone, but this guy's telling me that Grand Theft Auto 6 is on a lock for November 15th or something. And I'm like, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. But what I really meant was like, why would I tell anybody that? That's got to be total BS. How would anybody know and slip that to someone? But I don't know.
It's funny. It's funny you mention your buddy Mag, who you do X&C with every Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Someone sent me this, and they wanted me to ask you if you heard about this. But it says, according to leaker the Mag, Microsoft is planning to acquire Virtuous, the studio behind Oblivion Remastered. Bethesda is currently very happy with the results of their collaboration and plans to collaborate with them again.
Interesting.
I mean, I didn't hear
anything like that, but I would definitely believe that Xbox wants to stay really close to Virtuos and use their services for Fallout 3 remaster,
Fallout
maybe
New
a
Vegas,
Morrowind in 10 years.
Yeah,
like that sort of thing.
Skyrim again, of course,
There's no reason for Xbox to acquire another studio ever again. They don't need to. They're already bolstered up. They don't need to own anybody. They have the clout now to work with whoever they probably want to. So no, I don't think they would be acquiring Virtuos. That's probably one of those smoke signals. When it comes to like the insider game, and I don't play the insider game. I play insiders are saying this, I play that game. And then we talk about how viable it is. When there was smoke, there's fire. Like if somebody's telling Mag that Virtuos is like looking to like work with Xbox or maybe be acquired, the reality probably is Virtuos is like, we enjoyed our time working with Bethesda and we will definitely do it again.
Yeah, because there's probably a lot of projects.
That's where I think that comes from.
But we got some super chats here. We got Ryan who says, hey, Rand and Colt, could you do a poll for Marathon to see if anyone wants it? They should have just done Destiny 3. And Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 both did well, and Destiny 3 would have done too. Maybe they were just... They didn't... Maybe they were just burned out on Destiny or whatever. It's, maybe they didn't have a story they wanted to do, and they really want... Sometimes this is about like what the devs are just like really creative about and really feel passion for. And it very well could be like, we want to do Marathon and there's this passion there for it. And, because of that, Destiny 3 might be on the back burner a bit or something. So I don't know.
Destiny 2 is so successful. I didn't realize how successful and it's been. A Destiny 3 would have been an easy business venture for them. But I mean, they don't want to do the same thing forever, which just makes me wonder why in the world Playground Games Forza team is not readying 6, but whatever.
I mean, you know, you
They
look at
could.
this fall. I mean, Forza Horizon 6. If it's not this year, it has to be next year. But I've been saying that since
Forza,
like
hold on.
2024.
Forza Horizon 6 is not held back by the global pandemic. Like, I don't know why in the world that game would need, instead of 2 years, why it would need like 5 years. Like, what would it be if Forza Horizon 6 comes out in 2026? That's a 5-year dev cycle for a Forza Horizon game. That's kind of funky.
I mean, I guess
Doesn't
you make.
really-
I guess you could make the argument like there's no reason to release Forza Horizon 6 this year because the last one just came out on PlayStation and maybe Switch 2 this year. So put it out in 2026. I don't know. I feel like,
But you can say that, like, yeah, you don't want to oversaturate Forza because it's going to be available on PlayStation.
unless you wanted
5.
to do like a timed exclusive thing where it comes out this fall for Xbox and PC and then comes out next year for the other platforms. But
that just hinders its potential growth as a franchise. But the other thing that nobody's thinking about is like Xbox is paying for Forza Horizon, for the Playground Forza team to exist. And that's why I'm asking the real question. What the heck are they doing? And if they're working 5 years on a Forza Horizon game, that better be a massive upgrade and evolution of the series.
maybe it
Because
is. Maybe
they
it
did the
is.
game every 2 years, and you and I were like, ooh, they're going to do a 3-year dev cycle. And then the next year you're like, ooh, they're going to do a 4-year dev cycle. And now we're saying, ooh, they might do a 5-year dev cycle. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I guess it could be this year. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. But
Yeah, I'm 50-50.
yeah, I mean, it also could be
I'll
like
probably
a
say
lot of
that.
the team could be helping on Fable. I don't know. Right?
Yeah,
Even though
that's
they're
true.
different two studios, but I mean, there could be help there. We got a super chat here from Chris who says, this might be a dumb question, but since Xbox is a publisher now, are they privy to things like planned price increases for Sony's hardware?
Oh, would they know about that?
I guess would Sony tell them about it? Like, I guess that begs the question, like, does Sony tell EA and Activision what they're planning on any price increases? Or I think maybe they would signal to them what they're thinking about pricing their hardware at the beginning of a generation, but I don't really think Sony's gonna like, oh, quick side note here, EA, we're about to raise our prices for our consoles or whatever. They might ask for feedback, like when they're prepping next generation and when they ask devs like, hey, what do you want to see from the hardware? What do you want it to do? What are some features we would like to add? Maybe they ask also like, you know, what would you like to be priced at? Because, you know, the adoption of their games is also based around the adoption of the hardware, right? So if lesser adoption of the hardware, the less games you're going to sell. So that does directly affect those publishers. So I'm sure they probably take feedback on it, but I'm not necessarily sure if they like, they might tell them before, like maybe like I don't know. I can't imagine them telling them too far in advance, but I'm sure they, you know, ask for feedback from their partners about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jez with the super chat says, "Thank you, Colt. I want to come on X and C soon." Heart emoji.
Oh, I'd love to have you. I just never ask you, Jez, because I know it's like 9 million o'clock in the morning, you know, because if he's in Germany, it's like 2 in the morning just to start the show. And Jez, I'll have you on. I'll pick a day when I can just start the show like 2 hours earlier and do the show for you around 11 or something at night. But I would love to have you on. It'd be awesome. And I was thinking when Rand was like, hey, can you come do the show? I'm like, man, I haven't had Rand on the show in a minute. So yeah.
Well, you haven't had any guests on the show. I mean, it's kind of like me and Jez. Like the show's just me and Jez. The show's just you and Mag. Sometimes...
Yeah, I absolutely love Mag, and he is just a gaming fan. He just likes games. He doesn't have like an allegiance to one thing like I do, so to speak.
People call him Pony Mag, though. What do you mean?
He's Pony. Yeah, he goes, I don't wear the Pony Master thing anymore, and he took a lot of heat, and for good reason that he did this. But in 2024, when he didn't like Hellblade and he had to wait for Indiana Jones, he's like, I'm just gonna wait and play that on my PS5 Pro, and people got really mad, like he was a traitor, and he got a lot of heat. People are really horrible to him. But what ended up happening is Indiana Jones got such a great reception. He's like, I'm not waiting. I'm getting Game Pass again. And he played it on his Xbox and he enjoyed it, you know? So I don't know. He's a good dude. And thank you to everybody who supports him and initiates with the show and makes fun of us and calls us names. We love it. It's been really cool. Anyway,
and then Jez also with another super chat says, "Oh shit, thanks Paris too." So yeah, Paris was here, and Jez didn't know about that. We got a super chat here for Make It Simple. Get money from everyone, but can't subsidize. Greed.
Yeah.
I think the consoles have been subsidized. I mean, the fact that I think they're losing money on them suggests that they have been subsidizing them the entire generation.
Xbox definitely has been. PlayStation's been making a profit on theirs since 2021. But that's like mostly
a small profit. I don't think it's
I mean, if they were making $2 on every console, they earned it because PlayStation has they've sold enough to hit the profit margin. They've sold enough in quantity. Xbox has never been able to be there, so they've been behind $50 to $100, and that's why they yanked how much console or how much product they were putting in Europe. Like people in Europe have been saying for a couple of years, you don't even find an Xbox around here. It's because Xbox is like, why would we? We lose money selling them to the European or UK market. It's their own fault.
Yeah. Book with the super chat says, it may be that Microsoft has decided to stop subsidizing any part of the Xbox business except for Game Pass. Given the multi-plat strategy and cloud growth, it makes sense. Potentially. I mean, maybe they just kind of like look at the hardware stuff and they're like, yeah, you know what? We're cool with what it does now. We're not really going to... I don't know. I also think, like, it'd be interesting to see what Project Kenan does and if Microsoft is going to subsidize that from
what's that?
Asus.
The cloud?
Like, that's the Asus
the
handheld that's coming. Because, you know, those are expensive, but there were rumors that potentially Microsoft would help subsidize that so they could launch those at a lower price point. But, I mean, who knows?
They're helping to pay for development and everything. So
yeah, but we'll see.
Asus and Microsoft get to come together on a price that works for them.
I mean, we'll see if that happens, though. It may not.
Right.
We have Senior Bean says, the rubber grips off my Elite controller, then they increased the price on everything. Just my luck. Yeah, I mean, I had an Elite Series 2, and I had the same problem I had with my Elite Series 1. The right bumper broke, and then one of the buttons broke, like the start or select button broke too, and I was just like, I'm done with these controllers. Like, they constantly break. And it wasn't even like, oh, it broke after a year or two. Like, it broke after like 5 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my Master Chief controller is like, it's a beauty. The Master Chief Infinite controller is just a beauty, and the right bumper is like locked stuck, and I bought that WD-40 electronic spray, and I'm gonna fix it one of these afternoons, but it's not my job. Do better QA/QC. I talked about that today with the new controller leaks. Like, they better be like on the spot with the QA/QC on those controllers, because the Elite controller is one of the best until it just starts falling apart, and then you're like, what the crap?
Yeah, they got to fix that for the Elite Series 3 whenever that does release, whether it's the beginning of next gen or with next gen or a year after next gen. Like, it's going to be like, you know, you can only say so many times, we've improved the build quality, because that was the selling point of the Series 2. And it was like, well, did you really? I don't know about that. Look at this. Septic Sauce. Gaz drops super chat, says Xbox dead. Of course. The PC Master Race himself.
Hashtag Xbox growing. But
the newest member of PC Master Race, who's erased any of his ties to the console peasant that he was, now has a $6,000 PC where he can play his favorite live service games all the time now. So at a blistering 400 frames.
Yep.
Hey, guys, when you finally let me know when you beat Red Dead Redemption 2 on your PC, because I want to hear your thoughts about the story. Oh wait. Well, guys,
yeah, I'd like to hear what he thinks of that 9-year-old game. I would love to.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear.
I want to know. I want to know, because me and Colt love that game.
The greatest game of all, one of the greatest games of all time.
Yes.
And I'm like, did you finish Red Dead? And he's like, no.
There's no excuse now. Now you got the PC that can run it at 4K, probably more than 60 frames. I want to know about what you think about Arthur Morgan's Journey, bro. Come on. Chop, chop. Oh, not only that, but Elden Ring. Let's go. You know? Want to see you beat Elden Ring. You know, game's 3 years old at this point, so much so that the next Elden Ring game's coming out already. Chop, chop, guys. Let's go. You got the monster PC. There's no more excuses now. Let's go.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, with a PC that, he's got a 5090, it'll pretty much beat the game for him, right? With all that power. So
yeah,
just turn it on and start pressing A bunch of times.
Yeah, turn it on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got a super chat here from I lost it. From Wayne, no message, but thank you very much for the super chat, Wayne. Appreciate it. Geez. I don't know. You want to just stay with me while I answer some Patreon questions, Colt? There probably won't be very long. We'll probably be ending the show here pretty soon. It won't be a 4-hour extravaganza like they usually are.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of as you kind of fold those in. I'm trying to think of anything else that like we didn't discuss. Like, you could ask me like questions about. We could have a conversation about Showcase, but I feel like those are better had over the next like couple of weeks, not so early. But go ahead, do the Patreon questions.
We got Rave Damos, the Patreon, and just for anybody who's hasn't already, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to drop a question in the Patreon at patreon.com/XB2. And Surfsark, they have a deal, 86% off a 2-year plan. Links in the description or pinned comment. Check that out. It supports the show. Be greatly appreciated. We have Rave Damos that says, "Hi gang, with the rising costs of Xbox hardware and games, is there any update on a potential xCloud only tier for Game Pass? It would be a nicely suited alternative right now, and instead of having to buy increasingly pricier consoles. Curious what price point it would be too, with an over-under of 10 USD. What do you think? Over or under, assuming it's also ad-free. Thanks, gents." Yeah, that's
ad-free.
That's the cloud gaming, because they did make sure to point out cloud gaming in the financial results about biggest quarter ever, 150 million hours or whatever it was. And they do have the deal with LG now where they're on LG TVs.
Which I still haven't logged in to try that yet because I had to log in my LG account and I think stop TV.
And then they're constantly adding more games as part of like buy your own game program where like you have these, because because it used to be just the games that were streamable if they're in Game Pass. Now there's a whole bunch that if you own them, you can stream them, and they're kind of slowly rolling those out. You usually get like additions, like it seems like almost every 2 weeks at this point. But I sort of wonder, though, if they're going to wait for the next generation xCloud to really make a push. Because I think me and Jez have talked about it. Like, the next gen xCloud is going to be PC-based. Not, like, console-based like the current one is. So
I mean, mostly what you're getting right now is a Series S experience on xCloud, right?
Yeah. And
because they take the X and they split it into 4 modular cloud streams experiences. So yeah, you get the Xbox Series S build of a game on cloud, and then GeForce gives you like a 4080. So yeah, it's not even close. It's
funny because Jez had a tweet about Expedition 33. He was playing it in cloud gaming, and he's like, he couldn't do the pairing on Xbox Cloud Gaming. It just, the latency was just too much. So he said he switched over and started playing it on NVIDIA GeForce Now, and it was smooth as butter. He could parry and everything. So
I mean, Xbox ushered in this cloud thing, and then they didn't knock it out of the park.
Well, I think because they were sort of hamstrung by this is the 1080p 60 whatever. There's Series S.
You forgot you forgot that the original xCloud was running on a Xbox One S.
That is true. It was running on that.
Yeah.
Then they eventually put the Series X in, and I think the next version will be the PC stuff. As for pricing, they have a lot of tiers of Game Pass already, right? There's like 4 tiers of Game Pass. There's Xbox Game Pass Core, which is You get some games, and then you get multiplayer access.
It's like 40 games now, so they've been improving on core.
PC Game Pass. You got Xbox Game Pass Standard,
regular,
which has all the games, but not day one games, and not all the games in the current library, but a lot of them. Then you got Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is all of it, plus day one games from Xbox and Bethesda and ABK. That's already like what? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4 tiers already. And then you if you want to add a cloud tier, you're at 5. So my idea would be to probably get rid of Xbox Game Pass Core. Because I do feel that and we say this like every gen, I do feel like they're going to get rid of the Xbox Gold thing.
Yeah.
And then
the requirement to play online.
So they'll get rid of that. So you can probably get rid of the Xbox Core tier and then replace it with cloud only, especially if you view cloud as something that'll grow in the future. Because, it does make sense. Because anybody who streams your games, like, you got to have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate currently. But if you want to actually grow it, you're gonna have to have it so you could use it for a cheaper experience. So maybe that's what they just rename Xbox Game Pass Core. It's $10 right now, so maybe they just slot it in there, change the name, and it's just cloud gaming, and it's $10 or something. I don't know, but I do think it's something that needs to happen down the road.
Yeah, because you and I feel like, well, at least I do. I feel like as we approach the 2030s. It may become more viable to just play your games on demand on your TV, or on another device. Like, it may just be so seamless. And I know people who, if you've got fiber internet and you try out GeForce Now, you're basically playing on a $3,000 or $4,000 PC on demand, no install times. Like, you're just playing the game. It looks amazing. And that will become more ubiquitous in the 2030s. And I just tell people that there'll be a day where your consoles will be like, man, I love my consoles back in the day, but I love streaming all my music on Spotify and watching my stuff on Netflix and Hulu. We don't really miss our discs as much as when you look at the numbers, but that'll eventually be a thing. And I say that when it comes to cloud, I didn't want to play a mainline game on the cloud, but someday it'll just be really nice. I hope.
Yeah, everybody
is going to move forward.
Everybody I've talked to that's tried GeForce Now says it's amazing, and you can barely tell the difference between.
Yep.
So it's like, if it ever got to that point, all right, and I guess we'll see. I still think that's years away though. Like you said, 2030s.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got Silas, who says, "What a week! This is a type of busy news week that only happens when Jez is on holiday. He's on holiday, but this time he's getting surgery." So Xbox finally decides to overhaul the achievement system. For Achievements 2.0, your overall gamer score carries over, but not specific achievements. So you can no longer pull up games and see your individual achievements. I don't like that idea. I poo-pooed that idea, Silas. However, due to exemplary programming, you were able to carry over a single achievement from the old system and have it located on your profile page for all to see and revel in your greatness. What single achievement are you most proud of and want the world to see? Well, it's not the one I'm most... the one I'm probably most proud of is the one that I broke 1 million with on stage with Phil in E3 2016. And that would be for beating Ori and the Blind Forest. It's not like oh my god, I spent 10,000 hours playing this, because, there were achievements for like Gears 1 for killing 10,000 enemies or ridiculous achievements like that. But it's probably the achievement that means the most to me. So yeah, I would say that one. Although I do not like this idea of Achievement 2.0, where I can no longer look at my specific achievements for games, because I think that is an awful idea, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Is this something that's being like rumored?
No,
or what?
He's just coming up with a hypothetical scenario.
Oh, okay.
He just went a long way to ask me what's my favorite achievement ever. Pretty much.
My favorite achievement would probably be the Goliath achievement from Borderlands 2. It took so long. You have to level up a Goliath character. They're the ones
I remember that one.
When you shoot their head off, they level up as they kill other people on the battlefield, and you have to get him leveled up like 5 times, and then you have to kill him before the NPCs do. And I remember I did it with like a friend and a bunch of randoms on Xbox Live, and we were just cheering so loud when we finally got it. We all unlocked it together in a 4-player co-op thing. That was just so cool. The other one would probably be my killing the 100 pigeons in Grand Theft Auto 4, because that was the last achievement to get them all in GTA 4, and that's not something I heard. I almost never do that.
I didn't do that, bro. I didn't even do that because I was like, screw that.
My wife was helping me. She was on the computer looking up the last like 5 or 6 pigeon locations on like an IGN walkthrough. And she's like, okay, it's over here by this. There's like a building with this corner thing. And she's like, the map, it's the road curves over. And I thought it was funny that she was helping me like find those pigeons. And so I was pretty proud of that one.
All right. You got an achievement I don't even have. Although I think I have an achievement in the Ori and the Blind Forest that you don't have, because I don't think you beat that game.
I did not finish it. No.
So, Mike says, when, if ever, do you guys think we'll see Frostpunk 2 and Aura History Untold on console? I've given up on getting a console version of City Skylines 2. Hope you guys are having a good week. Well, thank you. And
City Skylines 2 isn't on console?
It keeps on getting delayed. It was supposed to come out like 2 years ago now, like fall 2 years ago, I think. And it just keeps on getting delayed.
The original got like a whole patch on console too.
I know, but like, I mean, I guess City Skylines 2 even had problems on PC, and that was a game that was day one on Game Pass for the console, and it just hasn't released yet for whatever reasons. Our History
You mean
Untold
day one on Game Pass PC?
Well, it was supposed to be both on console and PC, but it just never released on console.
Jeez.
It just kept on getting delayed because obviously, like, it probably ran like poo.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold my breath for Our History Untold or Frostpunk 2 to make it over. Maybe they will.
It's just really crappy that Xbox partners with these games and then they don't even put them on their console. Because the Xbox console, like, we can make all the jokes you want, but it is an integral part of their platform. It is one of the keystones of what they offer their customers. And then they put these RTSs out and they tell the devs, oh, it's okay, you can do the console port later. I don't think that's the right attitude for, 30 million fans. I mean, seriously. And I will always speak out against that, even though I don't like RTSs, but my opinion is, if I don't like a game, it doesn't matter. There are people that like something, and we should be, lobbying for these games to be available for those fans, no matter what it is.
I mean, yeah, they should. I'm just wondering if they will, and I'm not sure they will.
They probably won't. I obviously don't think it's important.
Yeah, they might think it's not worth the effort. Honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath on it, for it happening. Logan Meyer says, hey guys, hope all's well. After all this price-raising kerfuffle, what do you think the handheld collaboration with Asus will cost? And what do you think the next-gen devices will cost? Cheers. Well, I mean, we sort of touched on the Asus thing, but I guess
we didn't talk about the price, but...
I mean, I guess it depends on, are tariffs still around? Or... and that even goes for next-gen devices. Like, are we...
Let's assume yes, because we think... We would assume that the Project Canon, the Asus handheld, is supposed to come out holiday this year, right?
But even like for next gen devices, though, are we assuming that the tariffs are still going to be here in 2 years? Because if they are,
well, let's just answer the Asus handheld
thing
first.
How much is a ROG Ally right now, Colt?
$600 for a standardized one, I think.
Okay, so
mine was $700. The Extreme, the Z1 Extreme, I think is close to $800. I mean, and that's before the tariffs.
I would say, I don't know. I guess it really depends. How much are they impacted by the tariffs?
I'm sure they will be, but I'm just gonna say 700.
Yeah, I mean,
this thing is supposed to be more powerful than my current ROG Ally.
Yeah, and it's Xbox branded. Do they really want to release like $1,000 handheld that nobody will buy? I mean,
that's why I'm thinking it's probably 700. What's your guess?
I mean, I was originally thinking like 500 because I did think maybe they would subsidize this just to see a little bit. But, now I'm thinking like it might just be the same price as the current one, which is still pretty expensive. So I guess I'll go with you, 700, 800. And then for next gen, man, I don't know. I mean, we don't know how powerful the consoles are. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know if tariffs will be around. You know, like you look at what the PS5 Pro did, and some people say it's 700 because it has no competition, and it should have been 600. And it's like, I mean, could next gen devices be $800? You know, I mean, potentially. I'm not really ready to make a guess on what next gen would be, but it could be really expensive. And I guess it all comes down to like, are they going to subsidize any portion of it? If they will, then it'll be cheaper. But if they aren't, and if, you know, they're still going, all the climate from, you know, tariffs and stuff are still around, then it's probably going to be really expensive. You know?
Yeah.
Pat Rock says, do you see a world where Sony pulls all the top brass from Bungie and Microsoft comes in to pretty much buy the name and location, which is right next to them in Redmond, just so they can do a grassroots effort with Bungie name, pretty much like the Initiative? They could probably literally just buy the name for Halo Studios. It's a sad idea, but I want Bungie to live on in some form.
Oh, like if there's a possibility that PlayStation cuts them loose or what?
Well, I guess what he's saying is that they take all the top people from Bungie, so Bungie is like directionless with all their leadership at PlayStation, and then Microsoft comes in and makes them an offer where they...
You can't do that though.
Yeah, I mean, where they would buy the name and the buildings or whatever, because they are next door to each other. I don't think that's very likely. A lot of the value that Sony paid for in their when they purchased Bungie was from the name and the reputation of the studio, plus the IPs and stuff. And I think the name Bungie still means a lot to a lot of people. And I think like Marathon, regardless of like, you know, when Paris talked about it earlier, but I think just the fact that their name is Bungie makes people want to play their games. And I think you'd lose that if you are just, hey, we're ex-Bungie people at Wild Horse Studios. Because we've seen games come that are marketed by ex-Bungie people all the time. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's ever anything like it's a great game or whatever. It's like the name is Bungie. There's some, you know, history there. So no, I don't think they'd sell it.
Don't you think that one of the issues we're seeing is your favorite studio name doesn't mean what it used to mean?
Sure, because like a lot of people aren't even at the studio anymore. It's been, you know.
Well, like your favorite studios from 10 years ago are not making your favorite games anymore. In fact, they're letting you down a lot. And then, so if you're really like people like your chat and your audience, they dive into the gaming news, so they know more than the lay people. Like we all know who's working at such and such studio. Oh, that one guy who used to run the classic Mass Effect trilogy, he's got his own studio. So I'm looking forward to that more than I'm looking forward to the next Mass Effect from BioWare that made Veilguard. Like we're privy to that situation. Like my favorite thing used to be BioWare, Ubisoft, and some of the Bethesda games used to be my favorite things. And now they're not the same. A lot of those people don't even work there. And sometimes it's one creative mind, like whoever was behind Expedition 33 was like, this is what I want to do. And there wasn't a conference room full of stuffed shirts at Ubisoft saying, well, our studies show that people like to have a game where you build a, you know, that sort of thing.
That was my point from earlier when we were talking about price increases in games and how much these AAA games cost, that the AAA games have to play it safe, where a lot of them will feel sterile and they won't take risks. And here you have a team that worked at Ubisoft, finally outside of that, making their own game, and it completely is kind of like turned the RPG genre on its head, because they're not beholden to, you know, the people at Ubisoft, and there's not this huge budget, even though I think we both would agree Expedition 33 is a great looking game, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
absolutely
the budget's
fantastic.
not the right word, not beholden to a conglomeration of people who say
where you don't have like a
manager's
portfolio manager boss, and everything Ubisoft has to feel and look a certain way. Like I wouldn't even know that team was ex Ubisoft people unless I like read about it, because it doesn't really it doesn't have any of their like hallmarks of their development stuff.
No, it doesn't feel like a Ubisoft anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like a former Final Final Fantasy or Square team like put together a European style JRPG. It's amazing.
Yeah. But no, I don't see them buying Bungie.
I was going to ask Paris when we were talking about like, oh, are they going to open up all these release dates for 2025? I was like, I wanted to say to you guys, like, where's Judas? Like, Judas was supposed to come out sometime in 2025, and was it beholden to the Grand Theft Auto release date?
Maybe we'll find
Maybe
a
that
Summer
game's-
Games Fest or PlayStation show if there's a PlayStation show. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love to see.
I mean, I
more
would
of
love
that.
to see if Judas was this year. I mean, I'm really anticipating that.
Yeah, I am too. I'm looking forward to it.
We got Pandaman. It says, no new news, right? How does Microsoft always step on the rake? It's like every single time. Microsoft right now, fuck them kids. Like you had a stepping on the rake meme that you posted.
Yeah.
I mean,
They do it every single time, bro.
I think
They have a layup and they just completely like spike the ball into their own ball sack every time. And it gets so old. And I said at the end of my video, I'm just so frustrated as an Xbox fan. Like they have everything to succeed and they're doing well, but they're gouging us with the pricing stuff. But like, I don't know.
And they'll use like, hey, economic conditions and tariffs is the reason why. And it's like, it may be the reason why, but nobody really cares. It's just like, all I know is that hey, stuff was more expensive than it was the day before, but the games aren't any better than they were the day before. So what justifies the $10 increase or whatever? You know what I mean? It's just kind of, And it's kind of what it's been. I mean, a lot of people will say like this generation's been awful. It's been the worst generation. I've seen PlayStation fans say that. I've seen Xbox fans say that. That overall this generation's been lackluster. And maybe it's because games just take really long to make now, and everything's been dominated by live service stuff, and I don't know. I mean, everybody's always entitled to their opinion about stuff. We got good old Collinwood saying, hello, Rand and Jez. Well, this is for Jez. Jez, have you mentioned that Microsoft makes data-driven decisions? With this plan to raise the prices of both software and hardware, what do you think that the executives at Microsoft might have been thinking when they drafted it? Is it something that may have been a part of the long-term this is an Xbox project, or is it something more opportunistic like the ABK buyout? I don't know. I mean, Jez did hear that when the tariff stuff was happening, that it was like all hands on deck at Microsoft to like figure out certain things. So I would imagine they had been talking about it for a while, and then it was like, this is what we need to do. We need to just increase prices here, 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 and here, and here. I don't really think it's a long-term this is Xbox project. Like, I think your insinuation, it was like, oh, everything's an Xbox, and to really drive that point home, we're going to increase the price of everything so much. I don't really think that's the case, but I mean, I could be completely wrong on that. I have no clue.
It's not a very good strategy. Like, you don't want to alienate people from a part of your ecosystem. You want people to feel like all parts of your ecosystem are a great option and a great value. And I think they've done that for the most part. Their consoles were affordable. Their entry point was affordable. They were offering so many games, and Game Pass just makes all of that even easier. And I don't expect, and I talk a lot of smack, right? And I don't expect Xbox to eat 145% tariffs, but I don't know. I don't expect to just roll over and just take it either.
See, I sort of wonder, everybody, like, people really went hard about Nintendo and the $80 price for Mario Kart, right? And then you would expect anybody else that came after that would follow in their footsteps would get a proportional amount of.
Well, they showed up to the generation late and raised the prices in the middle of the generation.
But my point is that, like, Nintendo did it first, and they got a lot of hate from everywhere. And then you'd figure whoever do it next would get just as they would get a lot of hate, but it would be lessened. And then the next person do it so and so would be less and less and less and less, because then it was like whatever. And I didn't have it on my bingo card that Microsoft would be the second. I figured they would at some point, but I figured it would be other companies doing it instead. Microsoft was first. But then, And
I actually thought they would be last, Rand. I thought they'd be the last one to implement it.
Yeah. No, I didn't think they'd be last because they have more games in development than probably almost like every other company, right? So
Yeah.
And PlayStation had just raised their prices on their digital stuff and all these other countries. So when you think, okay, a price increase is going to come, people gave PlayStation shit, and I saw people being like, Xbox is a savior because of PlayStation and Nintendo price increases. Like Xbox can do this, can get a victory. And then it was like knowing in the back of my head, like, oh, I'm sure price increases are coming soon. I just didn't. I honestly, when I thought about it, I was just like, oh, they'll avoid raising the price in the States. I thought they would do what PlayStation did, is like raise the price everywhere else, raise the price of accessories. I didn't think they'd raise the price of games, honestly.
It's the only place they sell their consoles, basically.
Yeah, I was like, they're not going to raise it here, and they're not going to be the next ones to $80. I wasn't even thinking that. And then they were. And then they raised the prices here in the States for the first time. They're the first company to do it this gen. Like PlayStation, they raise it everywhere else. And I have seen a lot of people who are in other countries are really angry at PlayStation because it seems like PlayStation was subsidizing the U.S. market. Like, we're going to raise these prices in Europe and all these other places because we can't do it here in the States. So they're subsidizing us. So
what was their reasoning for not raising prices of their consoles in the States?
Maybe because it's more competitive. Maybe because it's the biggest market.
Competitive with what? Xbox?
Well, competitive in general, like in general, the Nintendo, Xbox, because the Xbox and PlayStation, they're closer to each other in the States than they are overseas.
Yeah, I think that PlayStation does definitely consider Xbox console a competitive machine in North America to them.
Sure,
it is.
I'm sure they do too.
Yeah, because even though they're 2-1 in the US or whatever, but I don't know. Eventually I don't understand how PlayStation's going to write out 145% increase with tariffs unless they can just write out their stock that's available across the world until it starts getting thin, and then they're going to have to make the announcement. That would be really cool if they did that. Like, that would be a pretty cool thing for them to do. For that, like, if they implement the tariffs like in 2 months from now, it would be pretty obvious that they were like writing it out as long as they could before they imposed
that's
that
why I asked you in Paris
on their fans.
If it's really about tariff and the economic situation, and say the tariffs went away, wouldn't that then be like, okay, well now the prices can go down? But you both said that no, these are just the new prices, right? So I don't know.
I'm not sure how much I believe that, but that they'll just keep prices at the tariff level.
I mean, I could see a situation where, like, hypothetical tariffs go away, they drop the price of the console back to what it was, but they keep the price of games and accessories at what they are now. They won't drop those back, but they'll drop back the price of the console. I could see that being what happens, but I don't know. I think a lot of like the thing is because Xbox was the first to do it here in the States, so it's like, yeah, these other companies did raise prices and Nintendo did 80. But I think it's that shock of seeing, holy shit, an Xbox Series X is $600 here in the States, because the other companies have kind of avoided raising prices here. So, then whoever does it next is not gonna get as much shit, and people will be like, oh, okay, this is happening, and they already plan. They'll kind of like prepare themselves for it. So I guess we'll find out. We have Jaded Jag in here, who says, "Hey, Rand Jez, honest question. I've fallen significantly out of love with gaming as a hobby after Project Latitude started implementation. I really only play Balatro and mobile games. It felt like Xbox was leaving their core supporters behind, and my investments weren't safe. The former point I felt was reinforced by porting of a key title in Forza Horizon 5 and the raise in prices this week, but I felt apathetic toward PlayStation and Nintendo too, especially with the high prices up here in Canada. At the same time, I hear that since I fell off the non-Balatro wagon, Game Pass has had a great year. With gaming where it is it worth rekindling some of my old passion, or is it the trajectory of the industry just going to lead to burnout again? Or to put it another way, what would you say to a gamer who was scared off from core offerings over the past few years to more casual gaming?" Now, this is a very interesting question.
Yeah, it's very, very
It's
deep.
very
and
deep too, because
What was it? What was the name? Who's this?
Jaded
that sent this?
Jagan.
Jaded. Bro, I know how you feel. I've been on a roller coaster ride over the past couple years of some of those same feelings, where you feel like you can be a little bit miffed about games, and sometimes this is very difficult for me to say publicly, but there have been a large amount of games over the past 2 or 3 years that everybody loves that I just have no interest in continuing to play. And I stay very quiet about that because I'm like, is there something wrong with me? And then a game comes out and I can't put it down. I can't stop playing. I'm like, okay, I'm still a major gaming fan. But when people are like ranting and raving about something like I'll just be very, very honest. They're ranting and raving about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I played 12, 15 hours. I'm like, I don't understand. I'm just going to say this because this is how I feel, and I don't say it out loud, but I don't understand why people love this game. Nothing here interests me at all. I don't like any of this game, and people are loving it to death. I'm like, I'm dumb. I don't like good games. And then I'll turn around and absolutely love something else. But I feel that way sometimes. Sometimes I'll go back and play a game that I just play. But the games industry has been kind of weird lately. We're getting a lot of the same stuff we've been getting for 10 years. And sometimes that's good. I don't know. We Rand, you and I talk about this from time to time, right?
Yeah.
Or at least I say it to you. And
I mean, what he's sort of describing is a little bit of burnout. And I've gone through burnout on stuff in the past before. I mean, I think there was one year I didn't play any games for like 6 to 8 months. And sometimes it just happens. You get burnout on something, and like the passion that you felt for what you love is no longer there, and you take a break from it, and maybe you're like, oh, maybe you like mobile games or you like Balatro more, like Jaden says, which is nothing wrong with that at all. I don't know, like, what would I say to somebody who's been scared off of core offerings the past few years to more casual gameplay? I mean, I'm assuming you still have an Xbox, because I'm not going to tell somebody, well, you need to go spend $500 on an Xbox to experience this or whatever. I'm assuming you still have one because the way you mentioned it, and other consoles. Like Expedition 33 it could be a game that reignites that passion. Split Fiction, if you have a friend in co-op, is another game that I think it's all about like that fun, that moment to moment fun with a friend that could really reignite those feelings of how you felt about gaming in the past and stuff like that.
That Split Fiction celebrates gaming in every single aspect. Yeah.
And maybe it's like those baby steps. Like you start off with something like that and you really enjoy it, and then you pick something else that you really like. Or maybe this is just the new you. Like, you're older now. Like, I don't feel the same as I did when I was in my 20s. When, like the PS2 or the Xbox 360 came out. Like, we're all different people, and sometimes our likes and dislikes change over time. I mean, there was a one point in time our turn-based RPGs were my favorite genre, and then they became a genre I basically never played, and it was about shooters, it was about third-person shooters, it was about action adventures and stuff. Like, our tastes sometimes can evolve over time, and then what you said here about, hey, project, with Xbox going multi-platform and all this sort of stuff, it kind of puts you in a foul mood, but you don't really care about PlayStation or Nintendo either. And it's like, what's the point? And I'm playing Balatro. I mean, sometimes you just gotta, I don't know, I would say, like, you can't let those sort of things affect you, like, emotionally. And I have these conversations with Cole all the time about that stuff. But yeah, I would say, I don't know, check out Expedition 33 or check out Split Fiction. And you don't even have to buy Split Fiction. You could have a friend buy it, and they could invite you with your friend pass, so you don't even really have to spend any money on it. Or this could really just be, this is the new Jaded. This is just, hey, I like mobile gaming now, and I like Balatro, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, sometimes I even think to myself, like, am I really going to be still gaming 10 years from now, 20 years from now? I mean, we joke about it with, me and Jez, but, like, we've been podcasting now for 8 years together, right? Xbox 2 started in 2017.
Yeah.
Like, am I going to be podcasting another 8 years from now in 2033? I don't know. But I didn't have those thoughts in 2017. I thought me and Jez were going to podcast forever. You know what I mean? Like, there was no thoughts of like, oh man, how long are we going to do this for? And here we are 8 years later, almost a decade. And now I'm thinking like, I started this when I was, 35, I think, or 36. I think I started podcasting with Jez when I was 35. Now I'm like 43. And I think like another 8 years, I'll be 51. Am I still going to be doing this? It's like, your taste and everything kind of change over time. So it could just be that. I don't know. It's kind of
yeah. It is a deep, deep question for sure.
Yeah. And I'm sure everybody has probably gone through something similar. It may not necessarily be with games, and maybe with a hobby you love. I mean, I talk about reading sometimes, but I loved reading so much, but at some point I stepped away from it, and I didn't read a single book for 17 years. I didn't read a single book from like 2004 to 2021 when I got back into reading. And this was one of my favorite hobbies. I was like addicted to reading, like when I first kind of was introduced to my high school. Like I always read in grammar school. You always get school projects. I never read for pleasure though. Sure, like we get a project and you're like, you have to read The Hobbit, and I would love The Hobbit, right? Or, oh, you got to read Brave New World, and I love that. Or you got to read 1984, and it's like, this is great. But I never like read for pleasure, because it was just, I don't know, it wasn't something you really did. At least I didn't find any enjoyment in it, even though like I was reading. It didn't really take off for me until high school. So when I was like 15, where I was assigned this book called Magician Apprentice and a Magician Master, was like a fantasy book. And I loved it to death so much. It's the only book that I read so many times that the front cover fell off. And I started to pick up all the other books of the series, even though we didn't have to read them, but because I wanted to. I finally had gotten to the point where I was starting to read for pleasure. And then I started to search out other books like it. I read Lord of the Rings. I discovered The Wheel of Time. I read Game of Thrones, or at the time, it was called A Song of Ice and Fire, right? I read His Dark Materials, and I was this big reader, reading all this stuff. And then at some point I hit a wall. I won't explain the reason why, because it's not really important to it, but I stopped reading for 17 years, and I thought I never would read again. And then eventually I got the itch again when I saw the Wheel of Time trailer, and now I read more than ever. You know how many times Colt has like asked me to be at a party, and I'm just like, nah, I'm reading my book.
Yeah.
You know how many books I've read this year? I've read like 32 books this year. It just happens sometimes, and then you find that passion again. And that's kind of, what I deal with even on YouTube, where I don't feel the passion to make videos. And I always, me and Colt have talked about that a lot, about like, and I try to get it back, and I know I should just do it just to do it, but I just don't feel that same passion I used to.
To like today when you were doing like a whole monologue about the game's price hike thing, and you were just speaking uninterrupted with all of your thoughts already like laid in a track. I was thinking while we were doing the podcast, I'm like, this could be a Rand video. And I know that you have fans and subscribers that would love to hear you make that video and watch that, but it's good that you're doing the podcast. And the passion for stuff is you got to have it even tempered. I'm learning a lot of lessons every single day, but like Claire Expedition 33, I've got 20 hours into it. I'm only level 21. I'm just started Act 2. I don't play it often because I don't feel the same way that a lot of people do. But when I'm playing it and I'm progressing, I'm loving that game. It's just, it gets iffy sometimes, and I don't know. I don't know what other advice to give to people who feel that way, but the games industry as a whole has just been kind of a mess ever since COVID happened, and it's just
I think it's a lot of it's game development got too expensive, so they weren't taking risk anymore, and every game takes too long to come out. I mean, you mentioned Fable. It's been 6 years since they showed off Fable. It's a long time.
Yeah,
You
we're
know?
waiting so long for games.
It just takes a long time for games, you know. We got John who says, "Hey, Rand and Jez, what do you think about the state of gaming media will look like in the future with news this week about Polygon and Giant Bomb? I'd like some of the contributors from Giant Bomb especially and had listened and watched the Games Mess mornings quite a bit. Giant Bomb has 239,000 subscribers, and taking Game Mess Morning as an example was a good show but never seemed to get over 10,000 viewers on most shows, or 10,000 views on most shows, whereas most top YouTubers can get millions of views for streams. I accept I don't know Patreon number or subscriptions, but fandom's actions seem to indicate whatever revenue model that Giant Bomb was operating wasn't earning enough money. Giant Bomb obviously at the time was a trailblazer getting people to pay for content and really building a community, but with fandom allegedly wanting to change the site to a guides-based website, possibly with AI, what future does games media have? I don't know what the way forward would be for quality content. What are your thoughts?" Yeah, it was a rough week for gaming media, wasn't it? It's been a rough, probably
Year or
last,
two.
gen for gaming media.
Mm-hmm.
AI is not going to make it any better because you could go to Google and type something in and you'll get the AI telling you when normally it would link you to a website. So, traffic's just going to go down, which is
I mean, I use AI for all my voiceovers in my videos, according to according to a dozen people that
I don't know what
that
I don't know what gaming media is going to look like. They'll probably just be your big websites that dominate, and maybe it'll all be fan funded. Like, hey, we need this Patreon stuff to really kick it into high gear. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to do stuff. And I think people are going more towards YouTubers and influencers to get their news rather than I needed to hear from someone at GameSpot or someone at Giant Bomb, because Giant Bomb was all about personalities and, the original all crew of Giant Bomb. They're no longer all there. They're gone. Like Jeff's gone.
Jeff's gone, but
Brad's gone.
It's also, let's see, it would be 15 years ago. We were all going to these websites and reading all these articles they were writing, and unfortunately, the 15 years that have passed, people don't really enjoy clicking on these journalists' websites and navigating through their pop-up ads to read and look for the actual juicy bits of information. Instead, you can go to a YouTuber who will put 2, maybe 3 ads in the whole video that you can skip in 5 seconds, and it could be more entertaining than reading a blinding white page on your phone. I do a lot of, I started this new series on my channel called Gaming Weekly News, where I grab news from Insider Gaming, The Verge, Windows Central, and I find out what the biggest news articles are, and I put those headlines on the screen. I grab their actual headline from IGN, Windows Central, whoever, and I cut it out in Photoshop. It flies in the screen, so it's their source, and I talk about it, and then I put B-roll that accompanies that discussion or that category or whatever game they're talking about. And those videos don't do very well, but when I'm going there and grabbing that stuff and getting source information, I love and respect these journalists, but their websites are diarrhea to navigate through. There's pop-up ads that are covering half the screen. They're flipping up in front of the article you're trying to read. And I understand it's part of the monetization, but maybe in 2013, we were like, that's kind of how the internet is. But after a while, I think maybe we're just getting sick of the status quo of what it's like to read on websites. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, and reading a website without ad blocker on is awful.
I don't use ad blocker.
Awful experience. I mean, I have it off for websites I like and YouTube, because I use YouTube Premium. But when I do find it use one, it is an awful experience. So I think maybe that has an issue with all that stuff. And it's just I think some of it's these companies are corporations and they want the number go up, number not going up no more. So we need to get rid of stuff. But yeah, I mean,
and you should be monetized for your work. Like Jez or whoever is taking the time, vetting out sources, doing research, sitting down and writing an article with everything packaged together for us, the customer, to read this. And it's free. It's on the web. It's on the web page. It's free. And the inconvenience is their monetization is there, so they get paid. And I understand that. A lot of these sites are just really difficult to look at. And it makes it really hard to navigate through and actually get that information you need. I don't know. But you're right. There are some content creators like Legendary Drops and Asmongold Gold who can cover the news very quickly, and they're very smart. Like Legendary Drops is very, very bright. He knows what he's talking about, and he knows how to say it quickly. Unlike me, I stumble over my words constantly, and he's easy to listen to. And
yeah,
maybe
but the funny thing is you say quickly, but like there's really nothing quicker than reading an article that's 2 minutes long rather than listening to a 28-minute video. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's true. But you know, when I'm in the car, I wish I could say to my phone, my phone will hear me if I say this. Hey, Google, read me that article. And I think AI needs to get there. It still heard me. My phone still heard me when I called it Google. I want that. I want that to, like, if I pull up an article from Windows Central and it's on my phone and the light turns green, I don't use my phone in my car that way. So when the light turns green, I put my phone back in the cup holder. I would like to say while it's open and say, hey, read me this article. And then it just starts reading through the body of it while I'm driving. I don't know. I'm just talking smack.
Yeah, I think it'll just gravitate towards more like influencers or YouTubers or that stuff. And I think AI is not going to help. So it's just going to be the top websites. And if even if you ask Jez, like, what are the things that make money? It's like guides make money. Like, why do you think a lot of these websites make guides? Is because people are always searching. Like, watch how many guides there will be for GTA 6 when it comes out. Because people are going to be searching for GTA 6 stuff. And, that's why IGN and all those companies make guides like that. So, yeah, I mean, gaming media, definitely going to look different in probably another 5 years. You're going to probably even see more layoffs.
What's your
stuff.
answer? Why do you think people have kind of moved away from the article-based journalism?
I think part of it is because articles are faceless. It's just words on a screen where like your favorite content creator is this person, whether or not they appear on camera. It's like, you hear their voice or you see them talking and you trust them more. I think sometimes it comes down to trust more, and people and like nameless, faceless, like people on a website. It's just like, you're not really even trusting the reporter. Because how often do you even look at the byline? You know how many times Jez has retweeted an article and then people be like, did you see this fucking article Jez wrote? And then I click on it and the headline's somebody else. Jez just retweeted it. People don't even read an article, they just read the headline. And then they don't even read who actually wrote the article. Whereas I'm watching a Code Eastwood video, I know it's from Code Eastwood. Yeah. And yeah. I mean, that could all change in the future, but I think it really comes down to that, personally.
Yeah, it's really getting into the weeds for anybody who like really wanted to have that discussion. But I've seen a lot of YouTubers that got a lot of views over the past couple of years. Theirs have dwindled quite a bit for just conventional game news reporting. Myself included, which is. That's how it goes. But I think you're spot on. It's the personality that wins over. There are a couple of prominent content creators that just would cover the news as it rolls out, and they're seeing diminishing returns, because if you get somebody like Legendary Drops who has a really great personality and really quick to get all these thoughts out into an extended video, there's like a build of trust that goes there, for some of these content creators. And then there's just people just quick to hate on them and want them all to be gone forever at the same time. So fun stuff.
Hey, I see
really long answer.
I see an article from Game Rant here. South of Midnight hits a major milestone, and they announced that South of Midnight
1,000 people
reached
played?
over 1 million players in less than a month.
Did you know that South of Midnight, or let me rephrase this. The Days Gone remaster has gone up some 7 or 8 points with the compared to the original launch game, and it is now sitting exactly where South of Midnight is. And Days Gone, I thought was a pretty good game. I would say it's better than South of Midnight in my opinion, but they're both sitting at a 77 or 78. Kind of interesting. South of Midnight's not my favorite thing ever, but 1 million people, huh?
1 million people. So I think that's more than I thought. I mean, I like South of Midnight. I do think it has some issues.
That was too
I
harsh
think it's
on
the
it.
best game that Compulsion has ever made, for sure. It was almost at that 8 for me. Like I think it was like a 7.5 or whatever. But yeah. So that I just saw that on Twitter. So 1 million for them. We got Governor Grimm who says when does Xbox streaming get to a point it can compete with GeForce Now on a technical level, or will it ever? I have 2 GPU subscriptions in my house and love the games I'm getting, but potential price increases and how poorly they have handled PC integration and streaming, I'm having a hard time justifying it. I think it could get to GeForce Now level when they introduce like PC as the baseline for xCloud. I don't know if it'll like be that top line, but I'm surely it'll be better than the current version of it.
It'll be at current GeForce Now levels probably in 2027, and then GeForce Now will improve upon what it is, so it'll be above Xbox. But at the level that GeForce Now offers right now, it would be a great standard going forward. There are diminishing return. There's the whole. I've got a couple of friends that really don't like when I use Sean Layden's dog whistle words, because people are talking about the difference between PS5 Pro and the Series X and PC, and there are some games that when I play a lot on PC now. I have been over the past couple of years. I've been playing either half of my games or most of them there. And I have a couple friends who don't like it when I load up a game on PC and say, this looks nearly identical to the experience I got on the Series X. And I know there are differences, but when you just kind of look at the game and go, is it really $3,000 worth better? No. And I love PC. And I'll tell that to people every day. And people hate me for it. The PC guys can't stand it because they have to justify their price that they've paid. But once xCloud gets to the GeForce Now levels that it is right now, the difference between that and a super high-end cloud is really based on what TV you have or what internet you have or whatever. That's another thing people don't think about. Like they'll talk about the amazing difference between some of the consoles or being on PC, but what TV or monitor do you have? Like, do you have the best HDR? Are you getting full HDMI 2.1 support? And all these things have to come together to really be able to see the difference. I don't know. Games just look really great right now, and we're super lucky. Even if you're on a Series S, a lot of your games are 60 frames, and across Series X and PS5, you're getting 60 frames on almost every single game, and you could count on one hand how many games just are stuck at 30. It's been pretty nice.
Yeah, that's true. We got BHO Review says, with the new price raise from Xbox across the board, do you think it's a response to Nintendo's price push or an opportunity to bolster Game Pass subscriptions since it's a much better deal now than ever? Maybe a bit of both. Love to hear your thoughts. I mean, we talked about that for a long time. I personally think it's mostly a response to the tariffs where they're trying to spread out the cost among a whole bunch of different things rather than one single thing. I mean, I could be wrong. A lot of people will just point to just greed. But you see, I don't really think they want... Like, I think if given the choice, I don't think they want to sell the console for that price.
No, they don't.
But, yeah, I mean, nobody really cares, though. Nobody really cares what the reasons are. All they know is that the price has increased and they're not happy about it. What used to cost this now costs that. And it's like, what are you going to do? Chicks Are for Trey says, I like how Microsoft said, we understand that these changes are challenging and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions, etc. How can they say that after posting a positive quarter, come off a bit greedy to me? The rising console cost has me using my PC more and more for gaming. Yeah, and I think I just saw like Microsoft passed up Apple again to be the biggest publicly traded company at like value of $3 trillion, and we talked about their revenue for last quarter, which was like something like 5.7 billion, which is a lot of money, and like people see that and they say, "Oh, this generation has, record profits, record revenue." And it's always like, "Well, record revenue and record profits are like, revenue isn't profits." And we don't really know what profits Xbox as a company is pulling in because Microsoft doesn't disclose that information about profits. I think they might be profitable in the single digits, but I think Xbox or Microsoft overall wants Xbox profitable in like the double digits, like 20% type stuff margins. So while they're making more money than ever, absolutely, like this fiscal year for Xbox probably going to be the best year ever in terms of revenue. But like nobody really wants to hear that when you just raise console prices so much, and it's like, well, why can't you absorb that cost? I don't know if you saw this, Colt, but Apple had their financial report. And they reported that they had they took $1 billion hit in tariff costs.
Apple did?
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, no corporation is going to like really want to eat that cost. $1 billion or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it's just they're going to try to pass it off, and it does come across like greedy. Like I said, Xbox raised the price of their games 2 years ago to $70, and now 2 years later they're raising it to $80. So within a 2-year span, it would jump $20. But their games don't look like they should. They're visually and all that stuff. It's like the games don't feel like they deserve the price tag. So it does sort of feel like you're just kind of being squeezed. That it does seem like, oh, it's just kind of greed, especially if you add in like the digital versions, which no tariffs on that. And even if you even if you knew the truth, explaining it is like, oh, well, it's this. People are like, it doesn't matter. It's all greed. And it's like the truth. The corporations, all they give a shit about is money. And they want the number to go up and they want to please their shareholders. And unfortunately, it's, the little people that get nickel and dimed. And it's not even nickel and dime anymore. It's, like way more than nickel and diamond. And that's just how gaming's going to move forward. Like, I'm shocked that this generation, the console prices stayed the same the whole time, and now they're going up. And there's a good chance PlayStation's goes up too. And you're going to go into the next generation expecting a console to be like $800 or $900.
If whatever. PlayStation increases the price of the PS5 via the tariffs, that PS5 Pro price is going to be a nasty, nasty number.
Yeah.
Like, imagine they change that thing to be $800
or $900.
It's like, I mean, they might go $750. They might take the Pro up to $750 and then take the base PS5 and move it up, or maybe the PS5 Pro will get the highest jump because it's the premium console. But I mean, that's just a nasty number for I've made many mistakes in my life, and one of them was when I did the PC build compared to the PS5 Pro. I forgot that I didn't have the RAM in it, but I've built a PC. I know how that works. Dumb mistake. Anyway, for about $900, you could buy a totally PS5 Pro killer PC, but not $700. But now the consoles are going to approach that. But PC parts are also going to go up, aren't they? According to the tariffs, a lot of PC components are made in China, and I don't know. It's just a sucky thing. Like, it's become a luxury hobby. It already was a luxury hobby for years.
Well, now it's even more so.
And when you look at video games that come out every year, like you look at 2025, the average hardcore gamer is like, there's 10 games that I want to play this year that are coming out that are scheduled, right? There's probably 10 for everybody here who's watching the show. They can they'll rattle off 10 games they definitely want to play in 2025. And that's a lot of money when you're talking about $70+ a pop. It really adds up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully there's another alternative.
Absolutely. But you know what? I think that's where we're going to wrap up the show. You know, we're 30 minutes from 4 hours or whatever, but show's gone on longer than I thought because Colt was a gentleman and decided to stay with me the whole time. So I want to thank Colt for being here. You saved the day.
I'm used to hanging out with you
like,
for. I'm used to hanging out with Rand for an hour or 2 hours on the phone. We talk about
everything.
life and everything.
Yep. So it's great to have you on and going to talk about all this stuff because I know like you were like, oh, talk about this on Monday, but nobody's cares. Well, it's like, oh, it's the next day, so you know, and it was great to have Paris on as well. But if anybody doesn't know where to find you, Colt, let them know where to watch X and C and check out your weekly news video, which you dropped earlier today.
Yeah, check out Gaming Weekly news video. It's about 12 minutes long. I cover the leak that Jez kind of alluded to with the new controllers. Talked a little bit about Borderlands 4 and then mostly the price hikes and what that means for us going forward. But also, thanks. I appreciate it. Check me out on Monday. We'll be talking about more gaming news and get more of your guys' opinions out there as we discuss everything. So I appreciate it, Rand. It's been fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, Jez, for those of you that, you know, didn't hear what I said earlier, he's having surgery tomorrow. So, you know, let him know that you're thinking of him or, you know, wish him well because I think he really wanted to do the show because he has a lot to say about this stuff. But, you know, body comes first. So surgery is happening, and I would probably have done the same thing. But, you know, Colt saved the show because otherwise I probably would have had to skip this week because he wouldn't be able to go the next few days. So there's that. Thank you to all the patrons. Your support means the world to me and Jez. Thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring the podcast. You can click on the link in the description of the video or pinned to the comments for an offer for 86% off 2 years, one of their plans, which is fantastic. It's basically almost like free. And with that said, as my phone continues to ring, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Xbox 2 today. We'll see if we can do anything on Tuesday. I don't know how Jez is going to feel, but if not, we'll be back on Friday with another new episode and see what happens in the crazy world of video games. So until then, keep it gaming, guys. Later.
See ya.